As we gather this evening, I invite you to embrace this moment with an open heart, finding solace and comfort. I come to this time with a quiet voice and steady hands. My aim is to guide. My aim is to help still the mind. My aim is to bring a gentle sense of home. Slowly settle into the place chosen for rest. Allow the weight of the day to move toward the floor. Feel the chair or bed supporting the body. Notice the breath as it comes and goes. Breathe in softly. Breathe out slowly. Each breath is simple and real. Each breath brings you nearer to calm. I speak as one who reads the Bible before sleep. I hold the word lightly, like a lantern held up in the dark. The light is not harsh. It is warm. It invites the eyes to soften. It invites the heart to listen. For a little while, the noise of the day falls away. For a little while, the mind is allowed to rest. Let the room grow still. Lower the lamp if that comforts. Draw a blanket up if that comforts. Turn off the screens or dim them. Let the familiar sounds of the evening wrap around you. If there is a clock ticking, let it be a steady friend. If there are distant cars, let them pass without asking for attention. This hour belongs to quiet. I will speak in short sentences. I will read slowly. Words will have space between them. Space gives meaning time to settle. When a line ends, allow it to rest. Let the echo of a phrase remain in the chest for a moment. Let silence be part of the reading. Imagine a soft path that leads from the day into night. Step onto it with deliberate feet. The path is lined with small lights. Each light is a promise of mercy and rest. Walk along, breathing in the cool air. Feel the tension release from the shoulders. Feel the jaw unclench. Let the forehead unburden itself. The path does not rush. Here, mercy is a presence, not a lecture. Here, hope is a quiet companion. No debate. I do not bring arguments. I do not bring questions that press like stones. I bring simple assurance. I bring a hand that rests upon the shoulder. The hand says you are not alone. The hand says there is room to be human and tired. Allow images to come without forcing them. Picture a small lamp on a windowsill. Outside, the night moves softly. Inside, warmth grows. Picture a hearth with a slow, steady flame. Hear the faint crackle. The sound is small and steady. It steadies the heart. Picture a garden at dusk. Smells are muted. Flowers close. The air feels clean after rain. These pictures are gentle helpers. They lead the mind away from the day's sharp edges. If memories surface, let them pass like clouds. No gazing. No holding. Observe them and let them move on. Some memories bring a soft smile. Some bring a quiet age. Both can rest in the same space. Mercy reaches into both. Mercy does not demand proof. Mercy simply meets what is. I name a simple prayer now. I do not ask for loud words. I do not ask for complicated phrases. I bow the head inward and offer a quiet breath to God. I invite the presence of Christ into the room like a cool hand. I welcome mercy to settle over the shoulders. I allow hope to take a small seat beside the heart. This is not a sermon. This is a bedside whisper. The Bible rests open or closed on the lap. It is a friend across the years. It has been read softly in many nights. Its words have soothed hands that were rough from labor. Its pages have calmed hearts torn by worry. Tonight, it meets ordinary people. Tonight, it speaks a plain language of comfort. Listen with the ears of the heart. Let words move slowly through the mind. Picture each image as if painted on a small canvas. Let them be simple shapes and soft colors. When a verse speaks of rest, imagine a place to lie down. When a line speaks of mercy, picture a hand reaching. When a promise speaks of light, imagine a little lamp. These images are not elaborate. They are clear and gentle. If grief knocks at the door, offer it tea. If fear sits in the corner, hand it a blanket. Do not dismiss what comes. Welcome it, and let the readings touch it. Sometimes a single line unbuttons a tightly held sadness. Sometimes a single phrase opens a window for hope. The Bible is patient in this work. It is not hurried. It allows healing to come in slow moments. I ask for a slow, listening rhythm. Let the words be like stones placed one by one into still water. Each stone makes a ring. Watch the rings expand. Do not rush the next stone. Permit the calm to grow between each ripple, between the sentences. Allow a gentle pause between the passages. Sit in a hush. The hush is part of the message. No need to perform faith. No need to have conclusions. The evening is not a test. It is a safe room. It is a quiet chapel made of familiar sounds and steady breathing. Here the soul can admit weariness without shame. Here the heart can name a small hope without apology. I will offer short reflections at times. They will be soft and brief. They will not teach as much as they will point. They will point to warmth, to mercy, to rest. They will encourage a little turning toward the source of peace. These reflections are like little lanterns along the path. Each one lights the next step. If sleep comes early, lead it. The reading is a companion, not a requirement. If the eyes close, the words will continue like a soft current. If the mind drifts, return gently to the breath. If attention wanders, bring it back without scolding. This practice is mercy in action. I will not press theology into the room. I will not argue doctrines. The aim is gentle assurance in Christ. The aim is to help hands unclench and to steady the heart. The aim is to remind the tired that mercy meets them now. The aim is to leave a small ember of hope before sleep takes the rest. Imagine now a small space in the chest where light gathers. It is not a blazing sun. It is a quiet glow. It warms slowly. It does not force anything to change. It simply holds. If doubt nudges the glow, allow it to sit beside the doubt. Let the glow and the doubt share the room. Both are human. Both may be present at the same time. I will keep my voice soft. I will keep my pace unhurried. Words will fall like leaves. They will not clatter. They will land gentle. Et tims. A pause will be long. Et tims. The reading will slow to a near whisper. Each shift has purpose. Each pause is a small offering of space. Before I begin the first reading, take one last breath in. Hold it for a count that feels gentle. Release it slowly. Feel the shoulders lower. Feel the jaw soften. Feel the mind lift a little from its tasks. There is no urgency here. There is only the present breath and the steady presence of mercy. I will now open the pages and read. Listen as if to a familiar voice. Allow the words to wash over the evening. If a line rests particularly well, let it linger. If a line stirs a question, tuck it gently away for later. For now, rest with what is simple and true. When the passage ends, a short silence follows. In that silence, let the message sink and warm. Let the heart find a small bearing of peace. Then, when ready, the next reading will come. For tonight, step into the quiet with trust. Let the lamp glow. Let the breath settle. Let the mercy be sufficient. I begin now with a slow reading. I open the Bible gently. The pages breathe. The light touches the paper like a soft hand. A line moves across the page. I read it slowly, not rushing the letters. The sentence offers rest to the tired. It invites those who carry heavy loads to set them down. The words suggest a shoulder to lean on. They do not demand anything. They only offer refuge. I let each sentence hang in the air for a beat. I take a short breath. I let the breath fall away. The room listens. The house listens. Even the quiet listens. Another line speaks of a steady presence. It promises a faithful closeness in the small hours. The promise is not loud. It is like a low bell in a chapel. It rings once, and the sound settles. Imagine a small bell over a doorway. It rings softly, and the household knows someone returns home. That is the kind of comfort these lines bring. I pause and draw the breath in with you. Hold it for a count that is easy. Release it. Feel the body respond. The neck loosens a fraction. The hands unclench. The back settles a little deeper. A passage turns toward hope in thin places. It says that when the night feels wide, a lamp is still lit. The lamp does not banish the dark. It simply keeps a circle of warmth. Picture the lamp on a bedside shelf. Picture the light making a safe ring on the blankets. The edges of trouble do not vanish, but they soften. I read without hurry. Each phrase is like a small lantern raised along a path. When a phrase ends, imagine stepping forward. The path moves slowly. The feet do not rush. The heart does not have to run to catch up. A gentle sentence reminds the listener of care for the fragile. It speaks of hands that hold, not crush, hands that guide, not overpower. Picture a hand covering the palm of another. The gesture is small. The meaning is large. Mercy lives in those small gestures. I let the silence grow for a moment. The quiet is a room where thought can breathe. Breathe with the sentence. Breathe with the hush. Allow the mind to settle, like sediment in still water. The clear water reveals the stone at the bottom. The image is simple and calm. The reading continues with images of calm waters. A metaphor suggests that storms pass and leaves settle. The picture is not distant. It is near enough to step into. See the surface relax. Feel the chest follow that rhythm. There is a line about a steady shepherd who knows each name. The language is soft. It does not lecture. It does not press for answers. It simply comforts by naming the listener. Imagine someone who remembers the small facts that matter. The memory alone soothes. I close my eyes briefly as I read. The voice is measured. The pace is slow. This slows the heart too. When the voice lowers, let the shoulders drop with it. When it pauses, let the eyelids rest a little. A paragraph points to forgiveness as a gentle clearing. It pictures a window opened after a long day. Fresh air moves in. The room breathes anew. There is no harshness in the clearing, only a calm that rearranges the space inside the chest. I offer a small prayer in silence. The prayer is a single breath sent upward. It is not a performance. It is a private offering shaped like trust. The breath says, "Thank you. Help. Hold. And rest." All at once. Let that breath rest in the body. The pages turn softly. I do not rush the sheet. A new phrase glows with quiet promise. It speaks of light arriving at the earliest hour of morning. It does not promise to speed the night, only to assure a morning that comes. Hold on to that gentle timeline. Night is long, but morning is patient and steady. I read a sentence that invites patience with the self. It suggests kindness to the parts that failed today. It says that small steps are still steps. Imagine a slow stitch in a worn garment. Each stitch mends more than fabric. It restores a feeling of repair. Mercy attends these small repairs. I pause again. The room is filled with the soft sound of breathing. The shared breathing is a quiet chorus. There is no need for loud acts to prove belonging. Quiet breath is enough. A short passage leans into the language of shelter. It pictures a house with a simple roof. Inside, warmth collects like small coins. Each coin is a comfort. The roof does not promise grandeur. It only offers cover. Sometimes cover is all that is needed for the night. I keep my sentences small, so the mind can follow without strain. The pace mimics the slow lowering of light. The words are like a blanket folded and placed at the feet. They are offered and then left to do their work in silence. There is a line about a peace that stands guard. It is not vigilant in a harsh way. It is watchful and calm. Picture a quiet watchman who smiles rather than scolds. The guard bends toward mercy more than judgment. I invite a gentle listening posture. Rest the chin lightly. Let the shoulders fall. Allow the knees to soften if lying down. These small shifts make room inside the body. When the body is less tense, the words sink deeper. A passage offers an image of a light breeze carrying away worry. The breeze does not chase every thought. It nudges them, one by one, toward the edge of the field. The field is broad. There is room for both small care and small joy. both may remain and still be tended kindly. I read about a promise that steadies like a hand on the back. The hand does not push. It guides with a gentle pressure. The guidance is present even when the path is unclear. Imagine walking beside someone who knows the way, but lets you set the pace. Silence again becomes part of the reading. In this hush, let the images settle like soft dust. They do not burden, they cushion. The heart can lay upon them. A short reflection comes. Life is not always tidy. That is acknowledged without shame. The reading does not tidy immediately. It accompanies the messy and the whole. It sits with both without hurry. I read of compassion that meets the small failures and the large ones alike. Compassion regulates the household of the heart. It does not prefer one corner over another. All receive the same gentle tending. Before I close this section of the reading, I invite a small practice. Take 3 slow breaths. Each one moves slightly deeper. With each exhale, imagine a soft piece of the day falling away. The first breath releases visible tasks. The second lets go of private worries. The third breath rests in the sense of being held. As the last line of this reading settles, I let a longer silence greet it. In that silence, the room warms. The breath finds a calmer rhythm. The hands rest. If these words have comforted at all, consider staying with this small community of listeners. Subscribe to the Quiet channel. Leave a soft note in the comments. If a line touched the heart, share this time with someone who needs a gentle hour. Each act is an invitation to rest given twice. For now, let the pages close lightly or remain open as you wish. Let the lamp keep its small circle of light. Let the breath stay slow. I will return with another slow reading soon. We will continue this path, one calm step at a time. Hold the thought of mercy like a small stone in the palm. Keep it warm. Keep it near the chest. When sleep comes, let it be the last image carried into rest. I breathe with you once more. In, hold briefly. Out, the room settles. The night listens. The reading pauses until the next time. I settle beside the lamp again. The pages rest on my knee. The house breathes slowly. I speak in a low tone. My voice is steady. My aim is to point to a gentle truth. Tonight I turn to a line that has soothed many nights. The psalm names God as refuge and strength. It says, God is a present help in times of trouble. I do not rush the sentence. I say it as a soft offering. I let the meaning sink in without pressing for explanation. Listen to that meaning. It is not a promise to erase trouble. It is a promise of presence. When fear tightens the chest, the presence arrives like a hand at the back. When plans fail, the presence remains like a quiet room. When grief sits heavy, the presence is an unhurried companion. The psalm points to help that is near. It points to strength that comes close, not from a distance. I invite you to take this in as a small practice. Close the eyes if that helps. Name the line inside. Using your own words, say to yourself, in a quiet breath, that there is help close by. The words need not be loud. Whisper them inward. Let them meet the places that ache. Presence can be imagined in very simple ways. Picture a harbor when the sea grows rough. Boats do not vanish. They find a bay. The harbor does not remove the storm at once. It gives cover, a place to move with the waves. Let that picture be the kind of help the psalm describes. It does not promise immediate cure. It promises immediate shelter. Another image is a steady rock in a river. Water moves fast. The rock stands firm. It does not grab the stream. It simply holds. Rest a hand in the mind on that rock. Feel how steady it is. Let the rhythm of the water slow as it passes the stone. Presence can do that for the heart. To acknowledge the presence is also to make space. Take a slow breath. Place a hand on the chest. Feel the rise and fall. The touch is a small way to register reality. Say nothing aloud. Let the hand remind the mind that something holds. This is not magic. It is a gentle act of attention. It teams. The body keeps its lists. The shoulders count tasks. The jaw stores worry. Move through the body now with a soft scan. Begin at the feet. Notice any tension. Invite it to ease by mere noticing. Move up to the calves, the knees, the thighs. Pause. Breathe. When attention reaches the chest, linger. Imagine presence sitting near. A companion that does not demand words. Let that companionship loosen the hold. Presence can be sensed in a small memory. Think of a time someone came and stayed when life felt bleak. Not a grand rescue, just a steady sitting. That simple memory works like a door. Through it, the idea of God's help becomes less abstract. It becomes a lived shape. Let that memory stand for the Psalm's promise. Naming the presence also lifts a kind of permission. You may permit stitches of sadness. You may permit small joys. You may keep both in the same room. Presence does not force one to choose. It allows the heart its whole range. The Psalm's help meets every corner. When the night presses, words can be too much. So use images. Picture a small lamp on a table. The lamp offers a circle of light. It does not banish the room, but it gives a warm place to see what rests close by. When the lamp is present, steps feel safer. When the presence of God is acknowledged, the smallest steps feel less lonely. Imagine an anchor in soft sand. The boat still moves. The anchor keeps a gentle limit on the drift. Presence acts like that anchor. It does not stop the sea. It steadies the vessel enough to breathe. Allow that steadiness to have weight in the chest. Let it be a small, true thing to hold. I speak of comfort that arrives quick. Sometimes comfort is a sudden hand on a shoulder. Other times it is the slow settling that happens hour by hour, acknowledging that help can bring immediate calm. It does not solve, it soothes. The mind may still circle, but the circling is softer. The breath finds a less jagged edge. Muscles loosen a fraction. That fraction matters. Try a quiet exercise with me now. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold the breath for 2 counts. Exhale for 6 counts. Repeat this 3 times. As you breathe, imagine presence like a warm cloth draped over the shoulders. With each exhale, let a little more tightness fall away. This simple rhythm lets the promise move from thought into body. If tears come, let them. Presence is not offended. It accepts the wetness and the salt. Sometimes the psalm's help is a shelter where tears are allowed. Let them cleanse in the privacy of night. If rest comes instead, welcome it without guilt. Presence keeps the night safe for both rest and release. The presence also offers a steady courage. Courage does not always roar. Sometimes it is a small choice to breathe again. It is a decision to sit with pain without annihilation. The psalm's help can be that quiet courage. It enters not as noise, but as a steady hand that guides the next step. There are nights when answers feel far. Presence does not demand having answers now. It meets the asking with patience. The psalm's promise is a patient companion in the question. Imagine walking beside someone who listens without needing to fix you. That is the kind of help described. It is enough for the night. Practice a soft naming in the dark. Use any phrase that fits your heart. Keep it brief. Repeat it like a slow mantra. Each repetition is not an incantation. It is an opening. It trains the ear to the nearness of help, or Watim. These small repetitions become like the sound of a familiar voice in the next room. Presence also meets fear with strength that is not harsh. Strength here is like a quilt stitched quietly. Warming the body, it supports without crushing. When tasks tomorrow appear large, the presence does not remove them. It gives enough surety to face them one by one. Let that steadiness be an offering to the mind that worries. If sleep resists, do not force it. Let presence be the steady companion for the wakeful moments. Count breaths. Name small blessings. Think of 3 small things done today that required courage. They need not be grand. Simple acts of endurance count. Let presence notice them with you. The psalm's help is near whether the soul feels it or not. That mystery is gentle. It asks only for a little recognition. A small acknowledgement can shift the night. It can change the tone of the mind from frantic to tended. Take comfort in that permission to be small and safe. I will close this short reading with a quiet breath together. Breathe in. Hold for a gentle count. Breathe out. Let the image of a harbor, a rock, a lamp, or an anchor rest where it fits best. Carry that image like a small stone in the pocket. When worry picks up weight tomorrow, reach for that stone. It will remind the hand that help is near. Before the pages rest, I offer one last simple invitation. When eyes grow heavy, imagine presence at the bedside, not as a rule maker, but as a companion who watches over the room. Sleep into that keeping. Trust that help is close. Even when the road ahead blurs, I close the Bible lightly. The lamp keeps its small glow. The breath stays slow. The psalm's promise remains a quiet friend in the dark. When morning moves toward the window, there will be light again. For now, let the presence be enough. I will return with another reading. For this night, rest in the nearness of help. I settle back into the soft light. The Bible rests open in my lap. My voice stays low. My aim is to help the chest relax. My aim is to show a simple way out of worry. Tonight I turn to Philippians 4:6-7. I name the verse, and then I speak its gentle meaning. I do not shout. I do not rush. I let the idea settle like dew on a leaf. The verse asks for a small practice. It asks that anxiety not be the ruler of the night. It asks that worries find a place to be offered. The offering comes through prayer and quiet thanks. It promises a kind of peace that stands guard over the heart and mind. I say this slowly. I let each line rest. Begin with naming. Take one worry at a time. Say it inwardly, not to anyone but the quiet. Give it a simple name. The act of naming loosens the knot a little. A named worry becomes a single thing. It is no longer an amorphous tide. Next comes the offering. Imagine placing the named worry into a small basket. The basket sits beside the bed. It is not heavy. It holds each worry like a folded cloth. One by one, drop the names into the basket. With each drop, breathe out a small sound. The sound does not need words. It is a release. Now bring thanksgiving into the moment. Not grand thanks. Simple things are enough. Thank for a warm cup earlier. Thank for a steady chair. Thank for the fact that breath still comes. These small thanks are a soft light. They do not deny the pain. They simply make room for more than the worry. Finally, present the basket with its contents in prayer. Not long words. A short inward gesture. Let the gesture be like pressing a hand to the chest and then opening it. The opening is an act of trust. It says, I do not have to carry this alone tonight. As I guide, I watch the breathing slow. I match the pace of the room. Inhale for 4. Hold for a brief count. Exhale for 6. Do this 3 times. With each exhale, feel a little ease around the ribs. The breath does not fix everything. It changes the body that holds the worry. Picture peace, not as an absence of difficulty, but as a quiet keeper. Imagine a small bell in the corner of a room. It rings once when rest begins. The sound does not erase sound in the street. It simply marks a change in the house. Peace is that bell. It is a soft marker that inner work may shift. Allow the heart to notice the guard that the verse promises. Guard here is not a harsh sentry. It is a calm presence on the threshold. It keeps a little space between the mind and the storm. Let that space be your inner room for a while. Sit in it like an easy chair. If doubts return, do not be harsh to them. Welcome them in. Then repeat the simple act. Name, offer, thank, breathe. Each repetition is a small practice of relinquishing. Repetition without force is a kindness to the soul. I read the verse again in paraphrase. Slower this time. The words are like a gentle hand, turning a page. They ask nothing dramatic. They ask only for the slow habit of handing over what presses hardest. There is mercy in the act itself. Now I invite a short exercise of imagery. Imagine a slow tide. The tide comes close enough to touch the shore. Then it draws back. Worries are like pebbles washed toward the edge. They do not disappear at once. They move with the tide. Watch them go a little farther with each wave. The tide does not take everything at once. It simply moves the line gently outward. Trust the small movement. I guide another breath. Place a hand over the place that tightens most. Let the hand be warm and steady. Whisper nothing. The warmth alone is enough to show that something else cares. The hand acts like a witness to the present. It tells the nervous system that the world contains gentleness. Prayer here is not performance. It is a simple turning. It is like closing a book that has been read too long, placing it on the nightstand, and lighting a single candle of thanks. The candle does not banish every shadow. It points to a small circle of light. Rest in that circle for a while. I speak of this as one who reads the Bible at bedtime. The book and the practice belong to the same slow house. The two work together to steady the evening. The Bible offers phrases that help the hands loosen. The practice of offering worries in prayer lets those phrases land. Now, I move to the next thread of the outline. I call it embracing peace. This is not a new command. It is the invitation to stay with what the verse offers. Embracing peace means letting the calm have real space to breathe in the body. Begin with small acceptance. Accept that the night may still bring some fear. Acceptance does not mean liking the fear. It simply recognizes it as present. When acceptance is honest, the mind stops fighting a losing battle. The energy saved goes toward rest. Create a bedtime ritual that honors this acceptance. Dim the lights a touch more. Fold a soft cloth over the lap. Play a subtle sound, rain on a roof. The hush of leaves. Rituals teach the nervous system that a new season is near. Repetition makes the lesson gentle. Practice a short gratitude list before sleep. Keep it to 3 small items: a hot meal, a kind word, a steady breath. Say them slowly. Allow each one to rest. Gratitude does not erase trouble. It balances the scale a little. That balance helps the heart soften. Imagine peace as a woven cloak. It covers the shoulders without constraining movement. The cloak is light but warm. Slide it over the shoulders in the mind. Feel its texture. The cloak does not demand immediate courage. It simply keeps the chill from seeping in. If rest resists, offer a short lullaby of the mind. Recall one line of a hymn, a fragment of a psalm, a single comforting phrase. Let it loop softly, not loudly. The loop is not a task. It is a gentle companion for the wakeful hours. Turn attention to small kindnesses done today. Name 2. They need not have been notable. A steady hand when making a meal. A quiet response instead of a sharp one. These small acts are proof that the day held threads of care. Let that notice anchor the heart. There may be nights of deeper worry. If so, do a slowing exercise. Lie on the back if that feels safe. Place a hand on the belly. Breathe so the hand rises and falls. Count each exhale from 10 down to 1. Let the numbers be soft. With each count, the body finds a lower gear. Embrace the promise of guarded peace as daily work. The promise arrives not as a sudden cure, but as a companion that returns when invited. Invite it today. Invite it tomorrow. Small invitations repeat into habit. Keep the mind gentle with itself. Do not demand silence. Do not punish drifting thoughts. When the mind wanders, bring it back with curiosity rather than force. Curiosity holds the space without judgment. It is a softer ruler. As I read these words, I watched the room change. A few breaths later, shoulders drop. The jaw eases. The clench in the stomach loosens. The slow work of rest begins. It does not finish everything. It does enough. I close with a quiet practice. Take one last inward breath. Name one worry. Place it into the imagined basket. Offer one small thanksgiving. Breathe out and allow a moment of silence. Let the silence be a small altar. I will fold the pages now. The Bible rests closed if that brings calm. The lamp stays near, dim and steady. The promise of guarded peace remains as a quiet sentinel at the edge of sleep. When morning comes, the day will ask much. Tonight, the invitation is simpler. Rest in the steady presence. Let the act of handing over repeat as often as needed. Mercy meets each small offering. I pause here with a soft blessing for the night. Sleep when it comes. If wakefulness returns, repeat the small steps. I will return with another reading. For tonight, let the peace be near and let the breath be slow. I turn the page with care. The lamp throws a soft pool of light across the paper. The room listens. Tonight the thought moves toward forgiveness. I hold Matthew 6:1, 4:15 inches my mind. Not as a rule to prove, but as a guide. It says simply that letting go of harm done to others opens the way to being forgiven. The line is plain. It points to a path where peace begins. Forgiveness is not a slogan. It is not an urgent demand. It is a small, steady work. It looks like releasing a stone from a closed hand. The hand relaxes. The arm lowers. The body finds a new balance. Forgiveness often begins with a choice to stop tightening the jaw over a memory. It starts with the way one breathes in the night. I speak about this as someone who reads the Bible before sleep. The word is a lantern handed gently from wrist to wrist. It does not shout. It lights something that can be carried forward. Matthew's words are a lamp that guides to mercy. Mercy here is a water image. It washes where the heart is gritty. It does not force the past to be different. It simply cleans enough to let the skin feel new. Picture a shallow basin of warm water. Rest the hands in it. The warmth moves into the fingers. The grit that sits under the nails loosens. A soft cloth slides along the skin. The cloth does not judge. It simply cleans. Forgiveness is like that basin. The actions of the past may remain. The marks may stay. Yet the surface becomes lighter to bear. Once, I carried an ache close to the chest for a long season. It was not a grand betrayal. It was a string of small failures from someone I trusted. Each one was a pebble. The pebbles collected in the pocket until walking felt different. Sleep pulled at the edges. Maps of the day always included routes to the grievance. The mind learned to visit that room in the dark. Grievances take shape in small ways. A 15-minute silence at the table. became a stone. A broken promise about a hospital visit became a wider crack. The memory of a harsh phrase returned like a repeated weather pattern. Each return tightened the shoulders. Each return made the breath shorter. It was a slow accumulation rather than a single strike. One night, tired of the wait, I went to the window and opened it to the cool street air. The prayer that rose was not long. It was a single, honest breath, asking for the capacity to let go, asking for the ability to be gentler toward the person who had caused the pain. A picture came then of that basin of water. The memory did not vanish. The hand that had felt betrayed still remembered. But there was room to try a different response. Forgiveness did not mean forgetting. It did not mean erasing consequences. It did not mean rushing into trust as if nothing had happened. Instead, it meant releasing the pocket of pebbles. One by one, the pebbles were named in a quiet way. Each name was a small act. I placed the name into the imagined basin and let the warm water move around it. The motion did not carry everything away. It eased the edges. The first release felt awkward. The heart kept expecting anger to return like a practiced guest. Sometimes it did. Anger knocked, and the old muscle of resentment flexed. Then a slow breath came, and the hand returned to the basin. The rhythm repeated. Over weeks, the habit changed. Holding on began to feel heavier than letting go. A small freedom arrived, barely noticeable at first, like a margin opening in a page. In time, a moment of real relief came. It arrived not with a trumpet blast. It arrived like a night without the usual tightness in the throat. Sleep deepened. Dreams lost their sharp corners. The person who had caused the hurt did not suddenly become perfect. The relationship did not remake itself overnight, but the inner space had something lighter in it. Resentment no longer set the tone for every memory. This kind of change is small and practical. It shows in how a morning begins. It shows in the way hands unclench while making coffee. It shows in a steadier step while crossing a quiet room. The peace that follows forgiveness is not theatrical. It is a soft restoration of the body's natural rhythm. Forgiveness also has a strange economy. The act of releasing often brings more mercy than expected. The one who forgives can feel forgiven in a surprising way. Perhaps that is what Matthew hints at mercy given and mercy received move in a circle. They warm one another. They grow the capacity to bear human failing without collapse. Try a small practice with the light low. Now, sit where the body feels most supported. Take a slow breath. Think of one small herd that repeats in the mind. Give it a name, brief and honest. Hold that name in the mind for a beat. Visualize placing it into a basin of warm water. See the steam rise a little. Feel the warmth touch the skin at the ribs. Breathe out and watch the surface settle. As the scene settles, imagine rinsing a hand. Let the water run over the fingers. With each slow rinse, imagine a slight easing of the grip on the memory. No need to rush, no need to force a miracle. The process is gentle and takes time. Repeat the act as often as the memory asks. The basin waits. Mercy waits in the warmth. Forgiveness sometimes requires a boundary afterward. Letting go within does not always mean returning to the same place. with the same arrangements. Healthy compassion can hold both distance and kindness. The two are not enemies. They are the way a body protects itself while remaining open to repair. If reconciliation follows, let it come slowly. If it does not, let the inner peace still be real. The heart may need to steer with wisdom. Forgiveness does not remove the necessity for prudence. It merely frees the will from the constant labor of revenge. There are nights when the willingness to forgive must be renewed. The habit is not a single act, but a series of small acts. Each act is a breath, a picture, a release. The Bible's invitation to forgive is not a burden. It is an offering of a lighter load. Take it, if the hands are willing, before the lamp grows too dim. Make a brief, inward vow. It need not be eloquent. Press the palm to the chest and speak a single quiet word of release. Let it be private. Let it be simple. Allow the warm image of the basin to rest there like a small cloth folded on the bedside. If sleep comes, carry that cloth into it. If the mind wakes, return to the basin. Forgiving does not mean being weak. It means choosing the path that keeps the heart able to love again. It means letting mercy reshape the inner room so that more light can enter. The small mercy given tonight becomes a soft instrument for morning work. I close the Bible with a long, careful breath. The pages lie flat. The lamp keeps a steady glow. Rest in the thought that forgiveness is a practical way to peace. Let the basin image move under the eyelids when rest begins. Let the breath match the rhythm of warm water. Tonight, carry a single simplicity name, a small hurt. Place it in the warm water of mercy, and breathe until the chest is lighter. When morning opens, see what bearing the small act has made. I will return with another reading. For now, let the night be gentle, and let the heart find ease. I sit with the Bible open on my lap. The lamp spreads a soft circle of light. My voice stays low. Tonight, the thought moves toward grace. I carry Ephesians 2:8 inches the mind, like a small, steady lantern. The verse reminds that grace is a gift, not something earned. It is precious and free. It arrives without a price tag. Grace is a hand offered when the hands are empty. It is a quiet knock at the door, when the room inside feels small. It does not demand proof. It simply gives. The idea is simple and true. It assures of love that does not waver with performance. It is not tied to success or failure. It is a steady presence beneath the changing weather of life. Think of grace as a small wrapped gift left on the doorstep. The gift sits where nothing was expected. The first reaction might be surprise. The second might be suspicion. With a slow breath, the hand reaches out and receives. There is no bargaining. The gift is held and unwrapped. Inside is a warmth that does not come from the work of unwrapping, but from being given. That warmth is the heart of grace. Grace also feels like an umbrella given without asking in a sudden rain. One has no time to prepare. The umbrella shields. The person who hands it over steps back, not waiting for repayment. The rain continues. The body stays dry. The mind relaxes in the shelter. That shelter is not a scorecard. It does not say you deserve coverage. It simply covers. This kind of gift reshapes how life is carried. When a person knows grace as an unearned promise, striving eases. The constant account-keeping in the mind loosens. The inner voice that tallies successes and failures becomes quieter. Fatigue les seins. Hope grows not from achievement, but from belonging. I want to tell a story that has lingered with me. It is a quiet story. It does not shout. It shows how acknowledgement of grace can change a life in small, real ways. Once there was someone who lived by a strict ledger. Days were measured by tasks completed and apologies made. Sleep came late. The head filled with lists. The hands moved on autopilot. Love was always conditional, given in response to performance. This person believed worth came from proving enough times to be accepted. One evening, this person came to a small gathering where the Bible was read softly before sleep. The passage about grace was held like a simple lantern, not as a rule, but as an offering. The words landed like rain on hot ground. They did not wash everything away. They loosened the crust. The person stayed after the reading. The lamp was low. The room was quiet. An inward conversation began that had no audience. The change did not happen all at once. At first there was resistance. A lifetime of earning is a skilled habit. Old muscles of worry flexed when rest was near. Yet the idea of an unearned gift persisted. It planted a tiny seed. Night after night, the thought returned. The gift image was kept like a small pebble in the pocket. Slowly, the ledger lost its grip. The person began to try one small experiment. Each night before sleep, a single thought was offered differently. Instead of listing duties, one simple sentence was breathed inward. This is given, not earned, not deserved, just given. The sentence was not a magic spell. It was a gentle reframing of reality. With time, the chest began to loosen. Breathing lengthened by small degrees. A day came when the person faced failure at work. Old habits quickened. The ledger clicked like a machine. But the new habit was there waiting. Before the mind ran a full account, the small sentence arrived. This is given. The sentence did not erase the consequences. It did not excuse poor work. It merely landed beside the shame and said that shame is not the final word. The person could hold the mistake and still belong. The effect spread. Meals tasted less rushed. Conversations carried more space. Sleep came with fewer sharpnesses. A capacity for risk grew slowly. Effort was still made. Responsibility remained. But the effort no longer bore the unbearable weight of earning acceptance. The body relaxed into the fact that love had already been offered. One evening the person described feeling lighter. Not lighter like a borrowed jacket shed, but lighter in a way that meant the hands had fewer stones to hold. The inner critic, once loud, became less an anchor and more a background noise. Actions changed because the heart moved from fear into care. Generosity began to appear where previously calculation had lived. The movement was small and steady, like dawn spreading across a room. Grace also brought gentleness toward others. When the ledger loosened, the habit of strict judgment softened. Mistakes in others no longer triggered a strict accounting of worth. A softer response emerged, help instead of punishment. invitation instead of retribution. The capacity to forgive grew because the person now understood how forgiveness had been received. Mercy flowed both ways. This story is not unique in its shape. Many lives lean against the same ledges. The Bible's promise of grace acts as a slow, practical re-education of the heart. It does not erase reality. It succeeds in changing the angle from which life is faced. The eyes that once scanned for faults begin to notice beauty. The steps that once hurried toward validation begin to slow and reach out to comfort. Let us practice receiving the gift now. In a very small way, sit with the body supported. Close the eyes if that brings calm. Imagine a tiny wrapped present on the lap. It is light. The hands are open. Receive it without conditions. Do not ask what it costs. Do not demand evidence first. Simply receive. Notice the sound of breath as the hands lift the gift. Open it slowly. Feel the warmth that does not come from effort. If a hard thought resists, if the mind asks what one must do to deserve it, acknowledge the thought and return the hands to the gift. This practice is not about proving faith. It is about learning to rest in a kindness that met first. Repeat the small act as often as needed. Grace also offers a compass for the night. When worry stirs, the simple truth that one is loved beyond earning steadies. The heart, the mind may still wander, but the wandering is quieter. The body can accept rest more often. This is not about easy answers. It is about a quiet reorientation toward belonging. I read these words at the bedside because I have seen such changes slowly take root. The Bible's language of grace is not an abstract doctrine. It is a practical companion on sleepless nights. It meets the person with an open hand. It asks only for recognition. Before I close this part, place a hand lightly on the chest. Feel the rise and fall. Offer a brief inward acknowledgement of the gift received. A single inward phrase is enough. Thank you for this gift. No loud words. A soft acknowledgement. Let the breath carry the thank you into the ribs. As the lamp dimples the room, carry the image of the gift into the edges of sleep. If the mind wakes, reach inward to that small present and touch it again. The habit of receiving can become a shelter for the night. I will close the pages softly now. The lamp keeps its calm circle. The thought of grace rests like a warm cloth folded by the bedside. Tomorrow the day will ask much. Tonight the invitation is simple. Receive what is given. Rest in a love that does not count merits. Let that rest be a steady place for the heart. I will return with another reading. For now, sleep if it comes. If wakefulness returns, return also to the small gift and breathe. Grace waits like an umbrella at the door. It is offered now. It does not demand repayment. It only asks to be received. I come back to the bedside with the Bible folded lightly in my hands. The room is still. The air moves slow. Tonight the line before us turns its face to fear. My aim is to meet fear with a small, steady faith. I read gently. I guide softly. The psalm I hold speaks plainly about sleep. It says the one who trusts can lie down and sleep. Because God gives safe. The promise is simple. It does not promise a night without trouble. It promises a rest that stands on the fact of God's keeping. That keeping is what I want to draw near to now. First, name the fear that presses tonight. Make it small and real. Call it worry about tomorrow. Call it a stubborn dread in the ribs. Call it a memory that returns like a song. Name it without shame. The act of naming changes the shape of the thing. A named fear takes up a single space instead of filling the whole room. Place that named fear into your hands, even if only in your mind. Hold it for a slow count. Let the weight register. Do not try to push it away yet. Let the body feel what it feels. Acknowledgement is a kindness. It does not mean permission to be lost in the fear. It simply means meeting it honestly before offering it to God. I read the psalm again in silence for this moment. The words are spare. They settle like dew. Trust. They say, is the soil for sleep. Trust does not mean perfection. It means turning the holding over, like handing a fragile glass into a careful hand. The glass is not dismissed. It is received. Use a single short practice with me now. Breathe in for 4 beats. Hold 1. Breathe out for 6. Let the exhale be longer than the in. Repeat 3 times. With each out-breath, imagine the tension leaving the muscles around the shoulders, the place behind the breastbone, the teeth. Let the breath be the small ferry that carries the named fear across the water and sets it down on an unseen shore. Picture a wide, old tree beside a quiet house. Its branches reach like arms. Under those arms there is a cradle of moss and leaves. Imagine being placed in that cradle. The tree does not scold the wind. It simply bends and shelters. Let the image be concrete. Feel the texture of the moss. Hear the small hush of leaves that do not demand action. The tree's protection is steady and patient. Now imagine a low watchtower on a distant hill. A soft light burns there. Not to alarm, but to hold a corner of the night steady. The keeper of the tower is awake. Gentle and kind. The light does not chase away every shadow. It simply marks a safe space to return to. The Psalm's promise acts like that light. It keeps a corner of the heart prepared for rest. If fear speaks loudly, practice a small, quiet phrase. Choose one that fits the chest. Perhaps say inwardly, "This night I rest in God's keeping." Repeat it slowly like a lullaby. The phrase is not proof against all trouble. It is a steady note to answer the louder sounds. Let it fall soft and steady. The repeated phrase trains the ear to trust. Faith here is not a sudden flood. It is the next small choice. It is handing over one named fear. It is pressing a palm to the chest and letting the hand stay there while a breath carries the worry into prayer. Prayer is short. It can be one whispered sentence. It can be only the willing posture of offering. The offering alone changes the work the body must do. I invite a tiny ritual. Keep the body supported. Fold a piece of cloth by the bedside, or imagine one if no cloth is at hand. Lay the named worry on that cloth and fold it closed. Do this inwardly if you must. The act is symbolic. It gives the hand something to do that the mind can trust. The cloth waits. The folded cloth is small, manageable. It is not the whole of life. It is one parcel made light. Consider the logic of trust as a muscle. The first few nights it will feel odd to hand over a fear. The hands resist. The mind asks for reasons. The soul has been practiced in keeping score, yet each small handoff builds the muscle of faith a little more. Over time, the body learns that handing over does not mean loss. It means release. Let me guide a short body scan now. Begin at the crown of the head. Imagine a gentle light passing slowly down the spine. Where it pauses, breathe into that place. If the jaw tightens, breathe there. If the belly knots, breathe there. With every slow breath, tell that place, without words, that it may rest. The light keeps moving. It does not hurry. It simply invites the whole body into a calmer setting. Faith often shines in ordinary things. A small habit practiced nightly changes the shape of a life. Sleep becomes less an enemy and more a companion. When trust is given in small ways, placing one fear into prayer, breathing in a new pattern, naming gratitude for one tiny good, the heart learns to receive the Psalm's promise more readily. If worry returns before sleep, do not add scolding. Scolding only tightens the chest. Instead, repeat the small practice name. Hand over, breathe. Use the short phrase or the folded cloth image. Keep the movement simple. Mercy works through small repetition, not through dramatic proof. There will be nights when trust feels thin. Those nights ask for gentleness. Return to one steady image. Sit with it for a few breaths. Let the image be of yourself resting in a sheltered room, not as if safety is proven, but as if someone kind watches the door. Let that kindness do its work. It does not need to prove anything to the fear. It only needs to keep showing up. For those who wake in the small hours, try a soft exercise. Sit up slowly. Place both feet on the floor. Press them down and feel the ground. Name 3 small things that are true. In the room, a pillow, a steady lamp, the sound of distant rain. The list need not be spiritual. These small truths steady the senses. Then return to the short phrase of trust and lie back down when it feels right. I read Psalm 4:8 as a bedside promise. I do not make it a magical eraser of all dread. I present it as a faithful shelter. The psalm shows that the one who trusts can rest when trust is hard. The verse offers a posture to practice. Practice is small. Practice repeats night after night. The repetition builds a seam of safety in the heart. There is a gentle courage in choosing to trust when fear presses. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to do the next little thing anyway. It is the choice to hand one worry to God and then place the head on the pillow. That choice matters. It is a decision of the will that affects the body. If forgiveness or grace from earlier readings felt heavy, let this be a night to hold them lightly. Faith is not performance. It is rest in what has already been offered. Let that truth be a pillow under the weight of the veneer of pride. Let it soften the way hands hold onto difficult memories. Before I close this section, breathe with me once more. Inhale slow. Exhale soft. As the breath leaves, Imagine a small bell ringing inside the chest. The bell marks the space of trust. It is quiet but steady. Let it sound 3 times. Each sound rings across the ribs and asks the heart to settle. Make a small vow to yourself. Not a vow to be brave forever, but a simple promise to try again tomorrow, to name a fear, to hand it over, and to rest. Keep the vow easy. Keep it kind. Mercy does not demand grand resolutions. It invites small, faithful steps. I fold the Bible closed with care. The night keeps its hush. I leave the image of the sheltered room and the watchful light near the bed. Sleep when it comes. If wakefulness returns, return also to the folded cloth in the mind and to the short phrase of trust. The Psalm's word is with us. We lie down and sleep. Because keeping is the promise, I will return soon with another reading. For tonight, let the trust settle like a soft blanket. Rest in the quiet keeping. Let the breath be slow. Let the heart be held. I come back to the lamp. The Bible rests where hands can reach it. The house is quiet. The night leans close. My voice stays low. My aim is to teach stillness. Psalm 4, 610 sits before me, like a simple instruction. Be still. It says, and no, the words are not a demand. They are an invitation. They are an opening to peace that does not depend on performance. Stillness is not empty. It is a shape the body can take. It is a posture of trust. In the dark hours, stillness becomes a small act of courage. It is easier to move when the mind is calm. I invite a slow breath first. Inhale softly. Count to 3. Hold for a soft beat. Exhale twice as long. Repeat 3 times. The breath does most of the work. The body begins to listen. Notice the way sound changes when the breath is even. A clock may tick. The tick does not sting. It becomes part of a steady music. Street noise passes like a distant tide. Let the sounds be as they are. Let them not press. Place a hand on the chest. Feel the rise and fall. The hand is a marker. It marks the fact of being alive. This small touch keeps attention grounded in the present. No need to chase thoughts. Let them pass like birds over a still lake. The lake picture helps. Imagine a wide, glassy surface at dawn. Wind does not come. The reflections are clear. A single pebble might disturb the water. Rings spread and then fade. Stillness is the lake when the pebble sinks and the surface returns to calm. The rings teach that disturbance comes and goes. I read Psalm 563 with that calm in mind. The verse names a simple practice when afraid. Trust. The language is short and firm. Trust becomes the muscle that steadies the chest. It does not remove fear. It reshapes the response. I want to tell a small story. It is quiet. It helps me teach what the verses mean in a life that is not tidy. Years ago, a night came when fear felt large. It arrived slowly at first, like fog pressing in at the edges of a field. A child I love faced an uncertain surgery. The waiting room felt immense. The mind spun through worst-case scenes. The hands found anything to do. Counting pages in a magazine became a frantic habit. Walking felt strange. Steps were measured in small units. Sleep stopped visiting. Food turned dry. The usual lines I read at the bedside sounded dull in the head, until someone handed me a small photograph. Not a proof, not an argument. A tiny photo of a quiet shore where a boat is moored. The image did not fix the problem. It did one small thing. It reminded the body how to breathe. That night, I went outside, under a bare sky. I pressed my back to the cool siding of the house and breathed with the photograph in my palm. I did not demand peace. I tried only stillness. The breath slowed. The muscles unclenched a degree. The mind still circled, but the circling felt less savage. I said the line from Psalm 5:6. 3 inwardly. Not to change facts, but to change posture. When fear comes, I will trust. The sentence is simple. It is not a cure. It is a choice. The choice loosens the hold the fear had on the chest. The next hours did not vanish. The surgery happened. The body held through it. The fear returned sometimes in the middle of the night. Each return met a different hand. I found the practice of stillness and the short trust line and returned to them like a small ritual. They did not erase worry. They made the work of bearing it less consuming. This anecdote is not grand. It simply shows how small acts change the shape of suffering. Stillness is a habit. Trust is a habit. Both grow with quiet repetition. Now, a short practice for the present moment. It will be gentle. It will help the body learn stillness. Sit or lie where the body finds ease. Close the eyes if that comforts. Breathe in slow. Keep the in-breath soft. Exhale twice as long. After 3 rounds, let the breath find its own rhythm. Notice the pause between inhale and exhale. Let that pause be a tiny altar. Bring attention to the feet. Feel the contact with the bed or floor. Move the thought up to the calves. Pause. Move to the knees. Release whatever holds there. Continue up the thighs and hips. Let the pelvis soften. The spine is next. Invite each vertebra to rest a little more into the support beneath. When the scan reaches the shoulders, imagine the shoulders as 2 small birds. Encourage them to perch rather than to fly. The neck relaxes. The jaw unclenches. The space behind the eyes loosens. Each tiny easing is stillness in action. If fear flares, meet it briefly. Name it inwardly. Fear about tomorrow. Fear about health. Fear that returns old tapes. The name keeps the fear from swallowing the room. After naming, place the fear on a short phrase. I trust. Say it slowly. Do not argue with the feeling. Offer trust, as if sliding a warm cloth across the shoulder of a tired friend. Return to the breath and to silence. Let the silence be a listening place, not an empty void. Stillness listens. It hears the small, steady truths. It hears the heart. Let the quiet teach the chest how to be present. A simple image helps. See stillness as a candle set on a wide table. The candle does not rush. The flame is steady. It gives enough light to hold the page. It does not banish the room. It teaches how to see. Sit with that candle for a few breaths. There is mercy in the silence. Mercy does not need speeches. It needs a waiting posture, in stillness. Mercy often moves without fanfare. The mind may not label the movement at first. It arrives as an ease in the shoulders. It may show as a deeper breath. Notice it without forcing a diagnosis. When the body begins to accept this slow rhythm, extend the practice to other parts of the life. Before a hard conversation, take a breath and be still for 30 seconds. Before sleep, repeat the small trust phrase. In the morning, let the first breath be a brief acknowledgement of God's keeping. I keep the Bible open because the word meets the practice. The verses do not work as formulas. They work as invitations. Psalm 4610 invites stillness. Psalm 5:6. 3 invites trust when fear knocks. Both invite a posture more than a procedure. If rest resists tonight, allow a longer pause. Lie in stillness and count the slow beats. Count the inhales and exhales. Keep the counting soft and easy. If thoughts cling, picture them as leaves on a slow river. Watch them float by. Do not follow. Let the river carry them. When it feels right, offer a thank you in a few quiet words, not a catalogue of gratitude, a small phrase. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for this light. Thank you for the gift of rest. The thanks does not demand return. It simply opens the heart another inch. I leave the lamp at a comfortable glow. The Bible lies gentle on the lap. The practice of stillness will wait for the next night. The habit grows with small returns. Before the light goes low, take one last breath with me. Inhale slow. Hold the small pause. Exhale long and soft. Imagine the breath carrying the named fear to a place that can hold it. Trust the keeping promised in the Psalms. Let the stillness hold the room. I will close the pages now. Sleep into the quiet if it comes. If wakefulness returns, return also to the simple acts. Name the fear. Offer the trust. Find the stillness. The night is wide enough for both fear and rest. Trust and stillness make room for peace. I return to the lamp. The Bible rests where the hands can reach it. My voice is low again. Tonight, I turn to Titus 2, 1, 1, 12. Not to teach, but to reflect. The verses speak of grace that appears. Grace arrives, and it teaches. It does not strike. It instructs by presence. Grace shows a way of life. It points towards simple habits. The habit is not a law pressed into the ribs. It is a quiet training. It asks for small choices. Deny the quick. Selfish habit. Choose the patient. Steady one. Live self-controlled. Live upright. Live toward what is good. The language is practical. It looks like small acts repeated. I hold that picture in my mind like a small lantern. Imagine a teacher at a slow table. The teacher does not shout. Fingers demonstrate how to thread a needle. The action is gentle. The hand guides the eye. The pupil learns by doing. Grace works similarly. It is a tutor of the heart. It trains by offering life that is already merciful. This training is not about perfection. It is about patterns. A life shaped by grace learns to bend toward mercy. It learns to pause before a sharp word. It learns to reach for rest before exhaustion becomes a hard stone in the chest. Grace teaches the small things. It shows how to hold a coffee cup with patience. It shows how to speak a kind phrase when fatigue tempts bluntness. I remember a season when the days piled heavy, tasks blurred into one another. The ledger in my head grew thick. Performance shaped the hours. Sleep was thin. In the quiet reading that followed, a phrase about grace felt less like a doctrine and more like an offer, a way to live different habits into being. The change began not with a sermon, but with a single repeated act. Each night I tried one small, graceful choice. The choices were tiny. A softer reply at the kitchen table, turning off the phone an hour earlier, letting an unanswered email sit until morning. Each acted like a stitch in a worn garment. Slowly, the edges looked less frayed. The chest eased a degree. The habit of earning worth loosened by the margin. The slow teaching of grace did its work. Grace also teaches how to refuse what harms. The verse does not only name what to take up, it names what to deny. Denying does not mean shutting the door like a judge. It means learning to say no to habits that shrink the heart. No to quick anger. No to bitterness. No to patterns that steal sleep. The denying is an act of love toward oneself and others. It is training the hands away from the small harms that multiply. Now a brief practice to receive that teaching. This is a breathing exercise to embody a grace that trains. Sit or lie, where support is sure. Close the eyes if that comforts. Rest a hand over the place the breath touches most. Breathe in for 4 slow counts. Feel the air go to the belly first. Hold the breath for 2 soft counts. Breathe out for 6 long counts. Imagine grace as a warm light entering with the in-breath. With the hold, let the light settle. With the long out-breath, let the light move through the body like a gentle tide. Repeat this cycle 3 times. With the final exhale, imagine one small habit you want to shape, a gentle pause before speaking, a quiet choice to rest, a small act of kindness instead of a sharp reply. Picture that habit as a path lined with little lanterns. Each breath lights another lantern. The path grows brighter, not all at once, but with steady breaths. This is not a magic trick. It is training. The act of choosing a single small change matters more than grand plans. Grace prefers the small. It builds character by repetition. The light from each lantern warms the immediate step. Over days, the path extends. Now, let the mind settle on 1 minute of examination. Think of a moment today when grace might have been offered, but a different choice was made. Name it inwardly, without shame. The goal is not guilt. The goal is noticing. Notice with a kind eye. See the pattern. Imagine the same moment repeated with a different gentler response. Picture the outcome. Let that image be an instruction, not a condemnation. Then name one small, immediate thing to practice tonight. Perhaps a short forgiveness offered in the mind. Perhaps a decision to unclench the jaw when tension comes. Perhaps a soft word to a child or neighbor. Keep it simple. Keep it doable. The night is best trained by modest acts. Grace has a habit of softening the inner ledger, where scoring once lived. A quiet margin appears. That margin can hold rest. It can hold mercy. The Bible's language here offers a pattern more than a law. It presents habits as teachers. Habits teach by repetition, not by force. Practice humility in this work. Let the small acts be humble. Do not try to prove anything to anyone. The point is not to perform better for applause. The point is to allow the heart to learn a new posture. This posture accepts mercy first, then moves into obedience shaped by love. It is not a trembling servitude. It is a steady openness. The imagery helps. Picture a garden in which a single vine is trained along a trellis. The gardener does not hurry the vine. He ties it gently, pruning what spoils the shape. Over seasons, the vine yields fruit in a different way. The vine does not become perfect. It becomes tended. Grace tends the heart in the same soft manner. If the mind resists the idea of training, remember that training has mercy baked into it. Grace does not shame the slow learner. It patiently repeats the lesson. It treats mistakes as part of the lesson plan. Each small return is a chance to practice again. Take a moment now to place the hand on the chest. Feel the heartbeats small. Steady work. Think of Grace as the teacher who notices even that small rhythm. Whisper one inward line. Teach me to live gently. No fanfare. No loud fow. Agitli. Let it rest against the ribs. If sleep comes early, let the prayer stay like a pebble in the pocket. In the morning, notice how the first choices shape the day. If rest stays thin, repeat the breathing and the small practice. Grace learns by returning. End tonight with a brief ritual. Close the eyes. Breathe once more in 4 counts. Hold 2. Breathe out. 6. As the air leaves, picture a small lamp placed at the corner of the heart. The lamp is not a blazing sun. It is a steady glow. It will not remove every shadow. It will make the immediate steps visible. Trust the lamp. Let it be enough. I close the pages gently. The word stays near like a friend in the room. The thought of Grace rests by the bedside. Let the teaching continue in quiet acts and small choices. Sleep when it comes. If wakefulness returns, return also to breath and to the single small habit chosen tonight. Grace is patient. Grace trains slowly. Grace meets the night with steady love. I will return with another reading. For now, rest into the patient rhythm of grace. Let the lamp glow. Let the breath slow. Let the heart learn the shape of a gentle life. I come back to the lamp with the Bible in my hands. The room is small and steady. My voice stays low. Tonight, the page leans toward an offer of rest. The story is simple. The invitation is direct. It comes to those who are tired and heavy-laden. I do not speak in slogans. I do not recite a doctrine. I share a bedside promise I have read for years. It asks that the heavy bundles be set down. It asks that the spirit find relief The promise is quiet. It feels like a hand at the back of the neck when the head bows. First, let the body settle where it is most supported. Sit back or lie flat. Adjust a pillow. Let the feet find the floor or the blankets. Small comforts matter. They receive the body so the mind can follow. Name one real burden. Do not gather the whole pantry of worries. Choose one weight that returns like a song. It may be a tiredness that is not cured by sleep. It may be a decision left undone. It may be the ache of a strained relationship. Say the name inwardly. Keep it simple. The naming does not fix the thing. It merely gives a single place for the hands to rest. I suggest a small image. Picture yourself with a pack on the back. The pack is not meant for the size currently carried. It has become heavier than it needs to be. See the straps tighten the shoulders. Feel the pack press against the spine. Now imagine walking to a bench by a quiet road. The bench is kindly and plain. Set the pack down. The straps fall loose. The shoulders ease. This is not a trick. The image is a practice. The act of imagining the pack. Set down changes. How the body holds itself. A loosened shoulder tunes the nervous system to a softer rhythm. The mind follows. Bring the named burden to that bench in the mind. Lay it there. Look at it for a breath. Do not force it away. Do not drum it with questions. Notice its weight. Notice its shape. Then place both hands on the pack and let the palms feel the texture. Let the palms be honest about the weight. That honest touch is part of the evening work. In this quiet, a short, inward offering follows. Not a speech, not a list, a small motion of the heart. Close the eyes for a second. Let the hands rest open on the knees or on the chest. Breathe in slow. Breathe out longer. As the breath leaves, picture the pack as a real thing that can sit on the bench for a time. See the pack there. Know that it need not be carried in this moment. Rest arrives in de grace. It is not an instant cure for every fear. It begins as a margin around the chest. The margin allows gentler thinking. It allows kinder reactions. When a small space opens inside the ribs, daily responses shift. A sharp word softens. Anger dims its edge. Small mercies come more easily. Daily grace shapes this rest. Grace is not only an idea that appears once. It is the repeated small acceptance of an offered kindness. Each night that the pack is set down, the hands learn a new muscle. The muscle says I do not have to hold the world all at once. The muscle says I can receive help and still be myself. I speak of daily rhythms because they are practical. Choose one breath at midday to be a hinge. Pause the work. Take 3 long counts. Breathe with attention. Let the inhale be steady and the exhale generous. This small practice keeps the bench nearer. When the evening comes, the pack feels easier to set down because the hands remember the motion from earlier. Grace also trains how to respond to harm. When a small offense occurs, the tired mind often tightens into reproof. The habit is old. Forgiveness seems costly. But when the chest holds rest, the choice to forgive becomes less of a moral proving and more of a practical mercy. The rested heart can see the small reason behind the hurt. It can choose kindness before rage. That choice is part of living under grace. I tell a brief story from my own nights. Once a day wore like rough cloth. Little slights gathered until the skin beneath it ached. At night, the memory ran like a film. I began a practice. Each evening, I named the sharpest small memory. Then I pictured it set gently on the bench and poured warm water over it in the imagination. The water washed the edges. The image is simple, almost childlike. It did not erase the memory. It eased its charge. Sleep reclaimed an inch of the night. Forgiveness does not always mean returning to the same arrangements. Setting down the pack may include setting boundaries. Boundaries are not cold walls. They are practical places where rest and wisdom meet. Keep the bench at a healthy distance if returning to the road will weigh again. Rest first. Decide later. Let me offer another small practice. Keep a small cloth at the bedside. Before sleep, touch it. Smell it if it has a scent of something calm. Lay the named burden on the cloth in imagination. Fold the cloth twice. Place it on the shelf. The cloth becomes a symbol of a decision. I lay this down for the night. If the mind rises, touch the cloth again and breathe. Symbols are not magic. They anchor the hands when the head wanders. There is a gentle paradox here. Letting go does not mean becoming passive. Rest is not a retreat from life. It is a recovery of strength. When rest is practiced, the body and spirit are restored enough to act with steadier care. Mercy then appears in family rooms and workplaces. It comes in the soft reply instead of the sharp. It shows up as patience when schedules clash. These small acts are the daily grammar of grace. Now a short breathing exercise to make rest tangible. Place a hand on the chest. Feel the pulse under the fingers. Breathe in 4 slow counts. Hold a count. Breathe out for 6. Repeat 3 times. With each out-breath, imagine the bench growing near. Imagine the straps of the pack losing tension. The palms may feel warmer. The jaw may unclench. Little shifts matter. As the chest eases, picture the rest expanding into the morning. Not as a one-time event, but as a continuing pattern. When a hard message arrives, pause. Name the burden. Bring it to the bench. Set it down. Breathe. The practice requires patience. It rewards slowly. Over weeks, the nervous system rewires. The hands learn to let go earlier. The heart becomes less reactive. We live in a culture that prizes carrying heavy loads. The posture of constant labor seems noble. The Bible's bedside invitation suggests a different nobility. It honors rest as necessary and holy. It says that the work worth doing does not require crushing the body. It asks that the yoke taken on be kindly made. That is a practical word for living. If sleep resists tonight, do not scold the wakeful mind. Wakefulness is part of the night for many. If wakefulness comes, return to the bench image. Touch the small cloth. Repeat one short phrase inwardly. I lay this down for now. Keep the phrase like a lullaby. Let it not argue. Let it be a steady refrain. Forgiveness and peace grow from these small acts. The hands that learn to set burdens down also learn to hold gentleness. The voice that rests more easily also speaks more kindly. Peace is not a prize given after perfect behavior. It is the daily fruit of practicing small decisions toward mercy. I fold the pages gently now. The lamp keeps its warm circle. Leave one small thing at the bedside to mark the decision. A stone, a cloth, a coin. Let it be a reminder that tonight a burden sits on the bench and the hands are free. Sleep, when it comes, takes in that freedom. Before I leave this small hour, breathe with me once. Inhale slow. Hold the breath for a soft count. Exhale long and steady. Feel the bench beside you. Picture the pack set down. Let the shoulders lower. Let the jaw soften. Let the chest accept a wider space. I will return with another reading. For now, let the invitation sit like a lamp at the foot of the bed. Lay down what presses. Find rest for the spirit. Sleep when it comes, if wakefulness comes instead. Return to the bench and set the pack down again. The invitation waits. The rest is near. I come back to the lamp with the Bible softly closed on my knee. The house breathes slow. My voice is low. Tonight, I hold a short promise in my hands. It says that nothing can separate us from God's love. The sentence is simple. It is wide. It needs no argument. It only needs to be heard in the quiet. This promise is not about proving worth. It is about a steady fact that surrounds the worn places. It does not erase pain. It does not make life tedious. It gives a steadier field to stand on. I say the truth gently. Nothing can pull this love away. Not fear, not failure, not a long list of small catastrophes. The statement offers a shelter, plain and unassuming. I ask the room to receive that shelter as an image. Words have power when they hold a picture. Picture a great pair of hands. The hands are large enough to hold a whole small town. They are careful. They do not squeeze. They do not fumble. They cup what is fragile and keep it safe. The hands are warm. They are a presence more than a plan. Now I invite a visualization. It is calm and very simple. Close the eyes if that helps. Breathe slowly once or twice. Picture a path that leads to a quiet place. The path is soft underfoot. It is lined with small, steady lights placed low so they do not glare. The air around the path is neither cold nor hot. It is the kind of air that lets the body unclench. At the path's end sits a person who loves without calculating. The face is kind. The posture is open. This person does not demand a list of proofs. The hands are empty and ready. Approach without haste. Walk as if carrying a small sack. That sack holds the night's heaviest things. Give a name to the weight inside. Name one worry. Make it brief. Speak it inwardly. The naming is a gentle honesty. When the name is held, imagine kneeling. Lay the sack at the feet of the compassionate one. The act is quiet and real. The feet are steady. The sack is real. Drop it down. Here, no clatter. Here only soft settling. The weight leaves the shoulders. The back relaxes an inch. The breath returns to a deeper line. the Saviour then does one small, human thing. Lift both hands and hold you, not as a teacher, but as a caregiver. The hold is like being wrapped in an old quilt that knows every scar and still welcomes sleep. There is a warmth in the chest that is not forced. The heart that worries learns, slowly, how to uncurl. Skin that tightened learns the permission to soften. Stay with the senses for a moment. Feel an arm across the shoulders. Feel a palm at the back of the neck. Hear a breath that matches your own. There is no long speech. There is simply presence. The presence holds the breath and lets it lengthen. It allows the tear, if one comes, to fall without shame. The body learns to trust the cradle of that absence of judgment. If the mind protests, if it asks whether this is earned, answer only with a quiet look at the fact of being carried. The carrying is not a reward for performance. It is an offered refuge. Imagine a small child brought inside from a cold rain and wrapped without debate. The child did nothing to deserve the towel. The towel is just mercy. Now try a short exercise with me. Keep the chest soft. Place a hand where the heartbeat sits near the ribs. Breathe in for 4 slow counts. Hold for 2 gentle beats. Breathe out for 6 as the air leaves. Picture the worry in the sack becoming lighter by a small measure. Repeat this 3 times. Let each exhale be a small pass of handing over. The rhythm trains the body to trust a hand that will hold even what is broken. Name another small thing. It might be guilt about a word spoken, a fear about tomorrow, the ache of loneliness. Bring it to the path. Lay it at the feet. Feel the same unfolding of muscle. If the list is long, do 1 item at a time. The practice is not about speed. It is about making the act of giving over a safe motion. The hands, remember, after placing a few small things down, imagine the compassionate presence speaking nothing. Instead of words, sense an assurance that cannot be stolen by the mind's panic. The assurance is a firm line. Under the heart, nothing can separate you from this love. Even failure is not a wedge. Even distance is not asunder. The love continues as the ground beneath the feet. If it helps, think of the love as a wide shawl. It wraps the shoulders and drops down to cover the hands. The shawl keeps cold from the bones. It is woven with patience. It has room for doubt and for joy at the same time. There is no contradiction. The two fit under the same fold. This is mercy, practical and present. Pray in a simple way now. Not a long string of words, not a performance. A single breath turned toward the one who holds. Breathe in with the thought, I bring this. Breathe out with the thought, and I am held. Let the prayer be so small that the mind can stay with it. Let the prayer be a lamp placed on the bedside table of the heart. If sleep wants to come, let the holding carry into it. Allow the weight of the day to remain on the path. At the feet, if wakefulness returns, take one slow breath and picture the sack again. Touch the remembered shawl. Remember the palm at the back of the neck. These images are like small cords tied to a stable post. When the world tilts, reach for the cord to steady the step. Remember also that the love held for you does not depend on what is fixed by dawn. It is not a medal given after a good night. It is a steady current that moves whether the mind notices or not. Let that fact be a quiet comfort. Let it be the soft scaffolding for the small acts of tomorrow. If a heavy thing refuses to be left at the feet, do not scold the attempt. Return gently. Try again another breath. Sometimes a fear needs to be named morning after morning before the hands can open. Mercy accepts the return. It is patient, with repeated practice. The habit of handing over is itself a discipline of grace. Before I fold the pages again, place a hand over the chest. Feel the breath there. Feel the small steadiness. Whisper a private word of thanks. Thanks need not be grand. A single line will do. Thank you for holding me. Say it quietly and let it sink into the ribs like a pebble into still water. The ripples are small and steady. I will close this part of the reading with a brief blessing. May the memory of being carried rest like a pillow beneath the heart. May the knowledge that nothing can separate you from love be a lamp in the dark hours. Sleep when it comes. If wakefulness returns, return also to the path and lay down another small thing. Mercy waits at the feet. It receives what is offered. I set the Bible down gently. The lamp keeps its circle of light. For tonight, rest in the holding. Let the breath be slow. Let the chest accept the quiet assurance that love stays close. When morning arrives, the same hands remain. For now, be held. Sha'ah. Renewed hope. I open the page where Psalm 42 lies. The lines come slow from the lips. Why are you downcast? My soul, I feel the question like a hand laid gently on the chest. Hope in God. I tell myself, I will again praise him. The verse continues. The words sit quietly. They do not rush the feeling. They name it and then point to a direction. The night has a way of making small things seem larger. Small losses grow in the dark. Small betrayals echo. Plans unravel like threads. I know those nights well. The soul can feel bruised. It can feel like a room without windows. In such seasons, the psalm reads not as a lecture, but as an invitation. It asks for a different posture toward what is broken. I place the Bible on the lap. The hands rest on it like a promise. I do not promise to fix everything. I promise to hold the light steady for a little while. Tonight I tell a story of change that began not with a grand decision, but with a single, very small act. It is the kind of change that is patient. It moves by inches. It is the kind of change that makes room for sleep. There is a winter, I remember. It arrives slow and stubborn. Work shifts. A home moves. A voice in the family grows quieter. The calendar fills with unfamiliar lines. The heart learns a new vocabulary of worry. For a long time, hope feels like a story told to other people. The chest tightens. The familiar rhythm of waking, working, resting breaks. Every plan trembles. One evening in that season, a single phrase from Psalm 42 returns to me. The line about hope comes with a freshness that surprises It is not an immediate cure. It is a seed. I hold it like a small stone. The stone is cool. I press it into the palm and say the phrase slowly. Like tasting a simple fruit. Hope in God. Again I say it. In the repetition, something shifts. Hope is not conjured. It starts as a slender green shoot in a place that looked empty. The transformation that follows does not look dramatic from the outside. There is no sudden reversal. Instead, habits change. The eyes begin to notice small brightnesses. The first cup of coffee feels less like a duty and more like a mercy. A tiny joy appears when a child laughs at nothing. The body accepts an extra half-hour of sleep without self-reproach. The soul keeps an eye out for mercy in small disguises. I begin a quiet practice that night. It is a small ritual, easy to do before bed. I take a single page from a small notebook and fold it in half. On the front I write only one word tomorrow. I do not write plans. I do not draft lists of achievements. I write 3 small hopes. Note demain. They are brief and tender. One may be a wish for patience at a difficult meeting. Another may be a hope that a strained conversation will be kinder. The third is usually a mercy I ask for myself to sleep, to breathe, to wake with a lighter chest. Folding the page is an act of trust. I place the folded paper under the pillow. It is not a talisman. It is a reminder. It trains the body to release a little of the relentless carrying. The next morning, whether the hopes come to pass or not, the habit has already moved something. The heart learns a new muscle. It practices holding hope as a small, present thing, rather than as a far-off verdict. A second small practice grows alongside it. I keep a single smooth stone by the bedside. When fear rises, the hand reaches out. The stone is cold at first, then warms. It is a tactile way to steady the mind. The act of touching something real brings the imagination back from far-off places. The stone anchors the present. It anchors hope in small, bodily ways. The stone is a teacher of patience. It shows that hope can be held without being rushed. There is a morning when the change feels visible. A letter arrives with news that once would have struck the heart like winter wind. Instead, a clear place opens. The mind still registers the risk. The heart still trembles. But the trembling does not rule the whole room. The breath has a steadier measure. The body can sit with the news rather than be carried away by it. Praise rises not because everything is perfect. It rises because the soul recognizes a faithful thread running beneath the chaos. Praise is not always loud. Sometimes it is a small listing of things that remain unbroken. A steady hand, a neighbor's small help, a meal that warms. I practice this listing in a soft, private way. When the mind wants to spiral, one tiny item is chosen. It is spoken inwardly and held. That single named thing becomes a hinge. The hinge lets the mind swing from despair towards something like gratitude. The movement is modest. It is nevertheless true. Hope grows within such small habits. It becomes a steady companion rather than an occasional visitor. The Psalm's command to hope is not a stern order. It is a hand extended toward a slope that looks steep. I take it a step at a time. The steps are small. The slope is made of familiar stones. Each step counts. There are nights that return where the old ache rises again. The past can loop its own shadow. When that happens, the practices are gentle and forgiving. I do not scold the mind. I do not demand quickness. Instead, I choose an image that is quiet, an ember under a bank of ashes. The ember holds warmth even when the fire seems out. Hope is that ember. It is not always visible. It is nevertheless alive. It only needs air, a breath, to glow again. So I breathe with purpose. I breathe in slowly and imagine a small wind stirring the ember. I breathe out and watch the ash settle less heavily. The practice is bodily. It does not argue with the reasons for sorrow. It simply feeds the ember enough to show a small light. The image is simple. It keeps the night from feeling absolute. Another part of the transformation is learning to speak of future praise, not as a way to deny the present pain, not as an avoidance, instead as a way to rehearse hope in the voice. Before sleep I whisper, inwardly, one small phrase of praise. It can be a recollection of a kindness from the day. It can be the memory of a word of forgiveness. The voice moves slowly. The tone is soft. The mind does not need elaborate sentences. A single, honest phrase is enough to remind the heart that praise and grief can live side by side. A practical step I offer to listeners now is to keep 3 tiny cards in a box. Each card holds a short memory of mercy, not a triumph, not an item for social proof, a mercy that felt like a saving hand. On hard nights, pull one card, hold it, and let its memory be a small lantern. The lantern does not banish the dark. It simply shows a way to move a few feet forward. Habit builds trust by these small repetitions. I tell this story because hope does not always look dramatic. Most often it is humble. It arrives in the care of ordinary hours. It shows up as a steady courtesy in a weary household. It comes as a neighbor bringing bread. It is present when words are forgiven and not weaponized. These small mercies gather and form a new landscape where praise is possible. Faith and hope walk together in this slow work. Faith is not a proof that life will always tilt in one direction. Faith is a trust that a faithful love holds through the tilt. Hope is the steady expectation that not everything ends in loss. The Bible's language about renewed praise points precisely to that twin trust. It asks that the soul be honest about sorrow and brave enough to expect mercy again. As one who reads these words at bedside, I invite a small practice to close the hour. Sit or lie where the body feels supported. Take a single card or a stone. Name one small hope for tomorrow. Keep it short. Place the object under or beside the pillow. Breathe in slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. As the breath leaves, imagine the hope resting in safe hands. Let the chest unclench an inch. Allow a small gratitude for the day to rise, even if it is only for a single warm cup, a kind eye, a steady breath. If sleep comes, let it take the new shape of the night with it. If wakefulness returns, return to the card or the stone. Repeat the breath. Repeat the naming. The work is patient. So is mercy. Before I close the book tonight, I place a short blessing on the lips. May the seed of hope planted in small practices find soil. May the ember glow enough to warm the sleep. Expect praise again. Not because pain vanished, but because the heart learns to hold both grief and gratitude. I will return with another reading. For now, rest in the quiet promise that hope can be renewed, even in slow, steady ways. Sleep when it comes, if wakefulness keeps watch. Meet it with the soft work of hope. I open the Bible slowly and rest my hand on the page. Isaiah 2:6-3 sits there like a calm line. It reads that perfect peace comes to minds that are steadfast because of trust. I say the verse aloud in a voice that hardly rises. The sound is soft. The line hangs in the room like a lantern. The promise is plain. A steady mind and trust are linked. Peace is not a promise that trouble will stop. It is a promise that the heart can keep its center even when noise presses. I hold that promise before the night. I offer it as a practice, not as a proof. Begin with a short breath practice. Breathe in for 4 slow counts. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. On the in-breath, think the single word, trust. On the out-breath, think the single word, peace. Repeat this 3 times. The voice in the head learns the rhythm. The body follows. Make a small shelf in the mind. Imagine a low wooden shelf right beside the bed. Each worry is a small labeled cup. 1 cup for tomorrow's tasks. 1 cup for things that cannot be changed tonight. 1 cup for regrets. Put each worry into its cup. Close the cups like lids. Tell the mind that these cups wait on the shelf until morning. The image gives a boundary. It keeps thoughts from rolling all night. I teach 1 quiet rule. Now schedule a short worry time earlier in the day. Let the list be 10 minutes long. Name what needs attention. Write a single next step for each item. After that time, close the list. Evening is not a second workday. This tiny habit lets the mind practice setting work aside at night. Use a single phrase from Isaiah 2:6-3 as a bedside refrain. It can be 2 words. For example, steady trust. Say it softly once. Then again, as breath lets the chest ease. Repetition trains the mind to come back when it wanders. The phrase is not a talisman. It is an anchor. Practice a gentle grounding of the senses. In the quiet of the room, notice 3 sounds. Name them softly in your head. Then notice 2 textures under the hand blanket. Linen. Skin. Finally, find 1 small scent, a book. Alampoil. A cup of tea. This odd count pulls attention out of the loop of worry and into the room that is here. The mind rests when it has something small and steady to hold. When thoughts become loud, try a soft distancing exercise. Imagine each thought as a leaf on a pond. Place the leaf at the edge and watch it float out past the small island, past the reed, until it disappears in the dusk. Do not chase the leaf. Do not grasp it. Watch the pond. Take it. The image trains a habit of gentle release. Make a little ritual to close the day. It need not be elaborate. It can be folding a handkerchief, placing a cup of water on the nightstand, or laying a brief note with one simple hope for tomorrow. These acts teach the hands to finish the day. The mind learns from the hands. A folded handkerchief or a glass of water becomes a small contract between waking and sleep. If worry still presses the ribs, name the worry very simply. Say it once, in one sentence, then speak a short step that is possible tomorrow. Keep the step small. The mind prefers motion to the paralysis of vague threat. A small step is enough to quiet the insistence that everything must be solved at once. Choose one short passage of scripture to carry like a lamp. Read it slowly until the words feel familiar. Let a single line lodge in the memory. When the night grows thin, hum that line inwardly. The familiarity of the verse becomes a gentle rhythm for the mind to rest against. Isaiah's promise is a fitting choice. Let its breath shape the breathing. Create a peaceful environment for sleep. Dim the light earlier. Keep the bedside uncluttered. Put the phone away in a drawer or another room. If a lamp is used, choose a warm, low bulb. The room speaks to the body. A softer room asks the nervous system to slow. Practice acceptance as a nightly skill. When an anxious thought comes, do not argue. Say softly, "This is here." Allow the feeling 30 seconds, then move the attention to the breath or to a small phrase. Acceptance is not surrender to worry. It is refusing to be ruled by it. The gesture of noting, then shifting, is a small act of trust. Try a short muscle scan before sleep. Begin at the toes and move upward. Notice tight places. Let each place release by a half breath. Tight calves loosen a degree. The jaw relaxes a notch. The shoulders drop a fraction. Small changes add up across the spine. The body often leads the mind into peace. Keep a simple trust list near the pillow. It is not a long prayer list. It is 3 short reminders. One true thing about God's care. One fact about the body's need for rest. One small mercy received that day. Read the list slowly before sleep. The items are small gates that let peace in. If night waking happens, have a plan that is soft and steady. Sit up slightly. Place feet on the floor. Breathe. Bring to mind one small truth. God keeps the mind that trusts. Repeat it with the out breath. Then go slowly back to bed. Routine trains the nervous system to accept that waking is not a time for frantic solving. Practice gratitude in a tactile way, rather than listing many things. Touch one item in the room and give thanks for it. A warmed mug, a blanket, a lamp. Let the touch be a physical note of thanks. The body remembers the feeling. The mind learns a new alchemy. Simple thanks turns a tense muscle into a softened one. Keep the language inside. Small, long internal stories amplify worry. Short, true statements steady the mind. Use brief sentences for the inner voice. Speak them as if reading from a small card. Truth needs the space of short speech to take hold. If trust feels distant, return to the simplest practices first. Repeat the trust breath. Touch the shelf of cups in the mind. Say the 2 words, steady trust. Do not expect the whole night to rearrange. expect a small margin. That margin is enough to let sleep enter. At times the body carries old storms. The mind then tries to solve what the body remembers. Offer the body a caring touch. Place a hand lightly over the heart. Feel the warmth. Speak inwardly. A single line, "I am not alone." The physical act supports the verbal trust. When the mind worries about control, try a small reframe. Replace the demand for certainty with a short question. What is the next faithful thing? The next faithful thing might be resting. The next faithful thing might be kindness offered tomorrow. Faithful. Next steps. Ground the mind in action, rather than in endless forecast. Let the bedside reading be slow. Read Isaiah 26:3 again. Softly this time. Let the verse fall across the room like rain. Allow it to be a quiet covenant. The mind that trusts is kept in peace. Do not press the words. Let them settle like dust on a shelf. I close with a small invitation. Take 3 slow breaths now. On the in-breath, think the word trust. On the out-breath, think the word peace. Fold a single thought onto a shelf. Place a short note with one small hope under the pillow or near the lamp. Keep the room soft. Let the verse live as a low light beside the bed. I put the Bible down gently. The lantern in the mind stays. The promise of peace waits like a low fire. Trust anchors the mind. The night then becomes a place to rest. I will return with another reading. For tonight, let the calm settle. Let the breath be slow. Let the mind rest in trust. I come back to the lamp with Colossians 3:13 in my mind. The verse sits like a quiet instruction. Bear with one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. I place the line gently on the table between the words of the night and the ordinary tasks of the day. The lamp throws soft light. The sentence is small and clear. Forgiveness often sounds like a grand thing. It can be spoken of as a single, heroic act. Tonight, I want to make forgiveness ordinary. I want to show it as a small daily way of walking. Forgiveness can be the shape of how people meet across a kitchen table. It can be the way someone listens when another stumbles. It can be a repeated, practical habit. Think of forgiveness as walking beside someone, step for step. 2 people on a path do not have to run ahead to make progress. They match pace. They notice uneven stones. They reach back when one trips. The action is quiet. It requires attention and curiosity more than a sudden leap. Begin with a simple posture. Sit where the body feels supported. Place a hand lightly on the lap. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out with a long, soft sigh. Breathe again. Each breath grounds the next small act of mercy. The work of forgiveness often begins in the body, before it reaches the mouth or the hands. Forgiveness in daily life looks like this, noticing first. Notice the small wound that keeps returning. Notice the repeated phrase in the head. Notice the place the body tightens when a certain name appears. Naming softens the shape of the hurt. It makes it manageable. When a thing is named, it becomes possible to carry it without letting it control the whole journey. Then comes listening, not the listening that plans answers, not the listening that rehearses argument, a gentle listening that asks only to understand. To listen like this is to make room near the heart for another's truth. It is to let the story be told without interruption. It is an act more of presence than of persuasion. I tell a story to make this ordinary shape feel real. It is a small story of friends who found their way back to one another. The memory sits close because it was simple and true. They worked together on a small community table. Each brought labor and love. Over time, small frictions grew. A deadline missed. A sharp reply in a hurried moment. A promise that was not kept. Pride kept the list growing. They stopped meeting for coffee. They exchanged fewer messages. The work continued, but the ease had gone. One evening, both arrived at the table for a meeting they no longer enjoyed. The room felt small. The chairs were unchanged. The air had shifted, rather than begin with accusation. One person suggested a short walk after the meeting. They agreed. Awkwardly, walking felt safer than talking across the table. On the path, they carried nothing heavy in their hands. Their words were at first small. Each shared a single memory of what had hurt. No long recitation. No attempt to settle everything in a single breath. They listened. They asked one short question. What were you trying to do in that moment? It opened a door. Hearing the intention changed the shape of the hurt. One heard that the missed deadline had come from a household emergency. The other heard that the sharp reply had been fear, not malice. Understanding did not erase feeling. It simply put feeling beside context. Where context grows, anger loses some of its heat. Both then named the temptation that had kept them from speaking sooner. Pride, embarrassment, the fear that apology would be a losing move. Naming the reluctance made it less mysterious. It became a thing that could be touched. They both said they had kept lists in their heads. They admitted to holding on to small injuries longer than needed. There was no performance of repentance, only humble confession. Forgiveness followed in practical steps. Each chose one small action to show repair. One brought extra hands to the next day's work. The other wrote a brief note of thanks and left it where the meeting materials rested. There was no grand ceremony. The acts were quiet. They were ordinary and faithful. The shared work regained its rhythm, not because everything was perfect, but because both began to practice mercy in small, repeated motions. The friends agreed to a new habit. Before each meeting, one of them would ask the single question about intention. Before leaving the table, they would name one small success from the day. They bound their relationship with tiny, steady practices rather than with heavy promises. Over time, the old tension loosened. The table felt again like a place where people could fall and be helped up. This is forgiveness walking. It is mutual. It is not one person giving and another only receiving. It is both learning to bear and to be borne. Mutual understanding grows slowly, like moss on a stone. It does not rush to bloom. It needs damp and shade and steady attention. Forgiveness, as an everyday practice, also has edges. It does not demand unsafe returns. It does not ask to ignore repeated harm. The small acts of mercy are meant for relationships that can be mended with care, where harm persists and patterns remain dangerous. Forgiveness often works with wise boundaries. To forgive while protecting the self is not a contradiction. It is prudence and mercy held together. Try a brief practice now. Close the eyes if that comforts. Picture a short path under soft light. On the path, tie a small cloth into a loop. The loop holds one single knot. Name a single small grievance. It can be recent or older. Imagine taking the knot between two fingers and untying it slowly. No hurry. Each tiny pull loosens a loop. Watch the knot unwind. If a new memory pulls, let it pass like a bird above the field. Keep with the one knot until it relaxes. When the knot opens, lay the cloth on a flat stone. Take 3 slow breaths. With each exhale, imagine a little space arriving between the shoulders. Offer one small gesture in the mind: a cup of tea, a short note, an extra hand with a task, a clear boundary for safety. These gestures are the steps that teach muscles how to behave differently. Forgiveness also asks for patience with oneself. The mind will return to old grievances. The habit of recollection is strong. When the mind brings the memory back, repeat the simple untying. No scolding, no demand for immediate change. Mercy trains by repetition. Forgiveness grows by doing the same small act again and again. A nightly ritual helps. Take a piece of paper. Write a single short line about one small hurt. You will work on forgiving. Fold the paper and place it beneath the pillow or beside the bed. Not as a charm, as a reminder. Each morning look and set a small, realistic step toward repair in motion. It could be a call, an offer of help, or simply a decision to listen without planning the next rebuttal. Daily steps matter more than grand apologies. Remember that forgiveness carries an unexpected gift. Letting go of a remembered injury often frees time and energy for care. The grip loosens, and the hands find space to hold new things. The heart can more easily make room for small joys. The daily practice of releasing grudges becomes a way to live lighter. As one who reads the Bible at bedside, I bring Colossians 3:1-3 as a simple lamp. The verse asks for a faithful rhythm: bear with one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. The image here is not a heavy moral burden. It is an invitation to practice walking together with gentleness. It asks for a twice-a-day habit rather than a single heroic deed. Before the lamp grows dim, try a small, breath-led exercise. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold a soft beat. Breathe out for 6. As the breath leaves, picture a short bridge between 2 small hills. One hill is pride. The other is humility. Imagine walking from pride to humility across that bridge. Each breath is a step. Let the act be small. Let forgiveness grow by the pace of the breath. Close the eyes if sleep wants to come. Let the last thought be a small intention, one short act of mercy tomorrow. Not perfection. A single choice. Let that choice be enough. I fold the page softly now. The lamp holds its small circle of light. The verse rests like a low lantern along the path. Walk gently. Forgive often. Keep the steps small and steady. Sleep when it comes. If wakefulness returns, repeat the untying, the breath, the small act, mercy keeps walking. It is faithful across small distances. It leads toward peace. I sit by the lamp with the Bible open. The room is soft. The light is low. Tonight I bring a line that has kept me steady. Grace is sufficient. The thought comes from 2 Corinthians 1:2-9. Not as an exam, but as a bedside offering. I hold it like a thin cloth placed over tired hands. I speak slowly. I keep sentences small. The idea is simple strength, sometimes arrives through what we name weakness. That is a startling thought. It does not mean weakness is pleasant. It means weakness can be the place where mercy works most clearly. I tell a true and small story. Once I tried to carry everything alone. The work seemed straightforward. A project needed attention. The list grew. Nights shortened. The hands moved long after the eyes wanted rest. Pride kept the hand on the load. Saying I could not do it felt like losing shape. At a certain point, the body pushed back. The chest tightened. The head spun with too many small decisions. The map I trusted failed to show safe ground. He felt brittle, like thin glass, warmed too quickly. For days I thought the answer was to grind harder. That only made the fracture worse. One night, with the lamp low, a quiet thought arrived instead of a plan. I whispered inwardly a short phrase, "Grace is enough." The phrase did not fix everything. It did not close the gap in the work. It simply offered a different posture. It invited me to stop fighting the limits that the body set. The first practice is naming. I name the weakness aloud in my mind. Not a long confession, one fragment. For me, it is often the sentence, "I cannot carry this by myself tonight." Naming changes the shape of the thing. The worry becomes a single pebble rather than a bucket of stones. That shift matters for the hands and for the breath. Next comes a small, visible act. I take one small object from the bedside. It might be a pebble or a folded cloth. I place it beside the lamp. The object is not a talisman. It is a marker. It reminds me of the little truth I need to practice. I do not have to prove enough to be loved. The object holds the name for the night. In time I learned that weakness invites help. Saying the small sentence to another person does not always come easily. It may sound like a failing, yet when the words are shared, the response is often warm rather than cold. Asking for help lets someone else move from spectator into companion. The small request changes the architecture of the day. I have seen coffee arrive. Hands offered. A short email that lightens a task. The world around does not collapse when I admit a limit. It rearranges itself to hold the need. There is another image that helps me, a cracked cup mended with gold. The Japanese art form kintsugi repairs broken pottery by filling the cracks with lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The repaired cup is not hidden. The seams are bright and visible. The object becomes more beautiful because the history of being broken is visible and honored. Weakness is like those seams. It does not disappear. It becomes part of the story, instead of pretending the cups were never cracked. I learn to show the gold. The cracks hold the light. Where I once worked to hide the fragility, now I allow the light to move through the repaired edges. The result is not perfect. It is whole in a different way. The idea of power, made perfect in weakness, is not a puzzle. It shows in small places. When I admit tiredness at the end of the day, someone else prepares a small meal. When I allow a trusted friend to read a draft, new clarity arrives. When I confess a fear, another voice names an encouraging fact I had not seen. The power that appears is patient. It is less about conquest and more about steady help. I do not mean to romanticize pain. Weakness is often raw and painful. But grace meets that space. Grace turns the attention from proving worth to receiving care. That shift is practical. It changes tiny acts of the day. Sleep becomes possible because the hands let go. The jaw unclenches because the heart stops demanding constant proof. A short practice helps the change stick. I invite you to try it now. Sit where the body feels supported. Place a hand over the chest. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. Repeat 3 times. With each out-breath, send the named weakness into the small object by the lamp. Imagine the object taking the edge off the weight. Next, imagine a strand of light running through a crack. See it travel slowly from one side of the break to the other. The light does not fix as a machine does. It fills and warms. It makes the seam less raw and more like a path. Hold the image quietly. Do not rush it. The mind learns by repetition. I speak of accepting help in small steps. The first steps are modest. A short phone call to a friend. A note to say, "I need 1 hour." Asking for a hand with a task. Saying, "I will rest this evening." These things look ordinary. They are powerful because they change the habitual story. The story that used to say, "I must always be enough," fades. Another story grows, "I am cared for when I am small." There is a different kind of strength that rises here. It is not the muscle that wins a contest. It is the steady resilience that keeps coming back. It is the ability to start again after a low night. It is the patience to take small steps and to accept repair instead of demanding immediate wholeness. This strength is quiet. It does not need applause. It shows in a calmer breath and an easier sleep. I hold another practice for the hands. Take a sheet of paper. Write one small weakness on it. Fold the paper once. Place it under the pillow or beside the bed. The paper is not an admission of failure to be replayed. It is a trust exercise. Each morning, unfold the paper and write one tiny step you can take that day to honor your limits. The steps will be small. They are meant to be doable over days. The habit teaches the hands and the heart differently. The power of grace also teaches mercy toward others. When I accept my own weakness, patience toward the weaknesses of those close by grows. The inner ledger that tallies faults loosens. A gentle word replaces swift judgment. People are human. I notice this as a relief. The home feels softer. Conversations lose the edge of needing to win. Mercy moves in both directions. If you have worry that speaking weakness will cost you, test it in a small place first. Share a small thing with a person you trust. Note the response. Most often, a real human will meet the request with kindness. Sometimes the response disappoints. That is part of living with risk. Yet most nights, The act of testing changes the internal script. Not everyone will withdraw. Many will draw nearer. There are nights when weakness is deeper than fatigue. Grief or chronic pain can feel like a long-term tide. The practices still help. Naming, placing a marker by the lamp, asking for a small help, and breathing into the seams. These actions do not erase deep suffering. They create small islands of rest in a wide sea. They keep the heart afloat long enough to notice mercies that might otherwise be missed. Grace is not passive. It moves. It meets the weak place with power that looks like gentleness. It arrives as patience, as help, as quiet rearrangement of a load. It is not dramatic. It is faithful. It comes often through other people, but also through an inner softening that allows rest. I offer a short closing practice now. Place a hand on the place that feels most tender. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold a beat. Breathe out for 6. On the in-breath, say quietly, "Grace meets me." On the out-breath, say, "And I am held." Repeat this twice more. Keep the voice inward and gentle. Let the words sink into the ribs, not into argument. If sleep comes soon, lid it. Let the act of handing over be the last movement before the eyes close. If the mind wakes in the night, return to the pebble beside the lamp. Touch it with 1 finger. Repeat the short sentence. A small ritual steadies the nervous system. Mercy returns again and again as a simple habit. I will place a gentle reminder beside my own lamp tonight. A folded note. A smooth stone. I do this not because the load vanishes, but because the habit matters. The habit teaches the body that even when the hands fail, grace still moves. The body learns to rest. The heart learns a new kind of strength. Before I close the pages, breathe once with me. In, hold softly. Out, imagine the cracks filled with a warm light. Let the light be enough for the night. Let the small seam be visible. Let the gold be admired for what it reveals about the journey. Sleep when it comes, if wakefulness returns. Return too to the pebble and the phrase. Grace meets the weak place. Power begins there. Rest now. Shalom. Unity in God's presence. I open the Bible and place a hand on the page. Tonight I think of a prayer that asks not only for each of us, but for all of us together. The language is simple. It asks that we be one. It asks that the life we share be rooted in love so ordinary it can be lived at a kitchen table. I read aloud, softly, the sense of that prayer. I do not argue theology tonight. I hold the request as if it is a small lamp. It shows a shape, people joined by a kind of grace that does not erase difference. The lamp is quiet. It asks nothing dramatic. It only asks that we learn to hold one another with the tenderness God gives. Unity is not sameness. The community I know looks like a woven cloth. Threads vary in color and texture. Some are bright, some are dull. Each thread does not need to become the others. Each thread simply needs to bear the tension of being near. Love is the loom. Grace is the hand that guides the strands. Together the cloth holds warmth. I tell a story that may help the image sit easy. A small town sits near a wide plain. Winters come long there. One year, a storm rips through the roofs and walls of ordinary days. Power goes out. Roads fill with fallen branches. The storm does not announce itself with heroic drama. It simply rearranges life into urgent, small tasks. Neighbors notice first. A woman who usually tends her garden goes from bed to bed in the row of houses to check on the old and the young. A man who fixes the roof for a living loses his own shingles. He borrows a ladder and a warm meal. A child learns for the first time that a warm room can be a shared thing. Meals are passed across thresholds. Tools move from one hand to another. Conversations begin at porches and continue until the lamps are nearly spent. At the heart of these movements is a low, steady belief. It is not announced with signs. It is more a practice than a theory. When someone arrives with wood for a stove, the giver expects nothing in return. When an anxious parent cannot sleep, others take the baby for an hour. When someone errs in a hurried word, the offense is not turned into a public ledger. Instead, the person is met with patience and a quiet request for repair. Grace here is practical. It looks like extra blankets, like an offered sandwich, like a shared engine of a truck. Love here is not an abstract concept, but a series of hands. Those hands pull, lift, and steady. They are not perfect. They sometimes fail. They apologize. The apologies are short and honest. The community keeps going. I watch the way this weaves into a deeper unity. People begin to speak in the plural. The sentence I hear becomes we. Not only I. We gather near the fire. We put the children to bed together when the moon is high and the sky is cold. We pray, not as a public performance, but as a small act that binds the frayed edges of the day. Unity in God's presence has a gentle claim. It asks that the love that holds us also be passed on. It asks that mercy be given more readily than accusation. It asks that when someone falters, another hand is ready to lift rather than to tally. This is not a demand for heroic virtue. It is an invitation to ordinary kindness that becomes extraordinary by repetition. One evening, a family new to the town sits in a dark kitchen. Their language is different. Their jokes land slowly. A neighbor brings a pot of stew. No speech accompanies it except a small note. Bring this back when you can. The note is simple. Its meaning is large. It says you belong. The family weeps in private and then eats. Sleep falls on the household with a less jagged edge. Unity can be quiet like that. It is the steady work of putting other lives in the center of small decisions. It is making room in schedules for someone whose life spun differently. It is forgiving soon. It is helping without calculation. It is celebrating small mercies as they come. There is one moment I keep returning to. Several families meet at a ruined community hall, the morning after the worst of the storm. The roof has a hole, but the walls stand. People set up benches. One person brings a guitar. Another brings a kettle. A small circle forms. No sermon is given. Instead, a short reading is offered from the Bible. The prayer that follows is quiet. It is not about explaining the storm. It is about asking for the courage to be present to one another. That courage looks like an unhurried hand in a hand. It looks like a neighbor keeping watch while another rests. It looks like children learning that the work of care is not a adult-only job. The circle grows not because everyone agrees about everything, but because the center of the circle is a love that is patient and kind. The love holds the differences without needing to resolve them at once. I ask you to imagine one of your own circles, perhaps a workplace, perhaps a cluster of neighbors, perhaps a family that juggles time and tiredness. See the ways small acts of mercy could be practiced there. A late meal offered, a text that says, "I see you," an apology that is brief and real. These acts do not require grand courage. They ask only for a little steadiness. Unity, like this, asks for humility. It asks that the hand, which holds on tight, sometimes release. It asks that the voice that insists soften. It asks that the mind that keeps score put down the ledger. Mercy does not require forgetting. It requires choosing not to let scores run the household of the heart. Before I close this part, I offer a brief practice. Sit with the body supported. Place a hand lightly on the lap. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out longer. Think of one person in your circle who needs a small mercy tonight. Do not exhaust the list. Name only one. Picture a single small action. It can be a message, a kind note, an offer to help with a simple task. Imagine placing that action gently into your hands, and then handing it across the space to the other. Feel the movement of giving without a performance. Let the breath carry the intention. Unity in God's presence grows in such small moves. It is not a project for strong people alone. It is a practice for tired hands and tender hearts. It teaches that love binds more surely than agreement. It shows that grace, when passed along, becomes a shared shelter. Keep the image of the woven cloth. Notice the color you bring. Notice the color of those near you. Let the loom of mercy work between the fingers. Je dis, à tranquille night. I return to the lamp for a final. Gentle hour. The Bible lies closed or open as you prefer. The house breathes slow. My voice is low. Tonight, I speak simply of rest and of the small rituals that make night kind. Begin with a single breath. Inhale slowly. Hold a soft beat. Exhale long and gentle. Repeat once more. Let the rhythm match the quiet in the room. A tranquil night arrives, not like a curtain dropped at once, but like a tide that pulls the shore piece by piece. The movement is slow. It is steady. It asks for few words. It asks simply that the body be given permission to soften. Make the room comfortable. Adjust the pillow. Fold a blanket across the lap. Set out a cup of warm tea if that pleases. Small comforts matter because they teach the body that the world is safe enough to let go for a while. I read a short portion now in my heart, not to judge the day but to bless it. The words of Scripture sit like a cool hand on the chest. They do not erase the day's trouble. They steady the ribs. They remind the heart that mercy is near. If the mind returns to lists, meet it with a small practice. Keep a sheet and a pen by the bedside. Name only 3 things that must be done tomorrow. Write one small first step for each. Close the sheet. Place it aside. The act of transferring a worry to paper often makes it less vivid in the bones if grief presses in. Do not rush it. Offer the grief tea and a chair. Sit with it for a moment. Acknowledge its shape. Then breathe and place a gentle hand over the chest. Let the breath be the bridge between the ache and the warmth that waits. If forgiveness is needed, recall the warm water image of earlier tonight. Place the small hurt into imagined water. Let the edges soften in the mind. The work is slow. It is humble. It may take many nights. Repeat the practice as often as the memory appears. If unity is on your heart, think of one quiet act to practice tomorrow. A short question asked with curiosity. A shared coffee. A small apology. Let the act be doable. Let it be small enough that the body does not resist. Unity grows by repeated, tender choices. Now, a guided breath to close. Inhale for 4 counts. Hold 1 soft beat. Exhale for 6. Picture each exhale laying a gentle blanket across the shoulders. With each breath, the shoulders drop. The jaw unclenches. The muscles keep the memory of the easing. Lie where the body rests best. Place a hand over the chest. Feel the heartbeat. Feel the small, steady work inside. Whisper, inwardly, a brief thanks. Not a long list. 1 small line, thank you for this breath. Let the silence hold the thanks for a while. If sleep comes soon, lead it. If eyes close now, the words will rest like a soft lamp at the bedside. If wakefulness returns later, return to the breath, to the small sheet with tomorrow's steps, to the imagined woven cloth of community. Repeat the practices. Mercy is patient. So are these small acts. Before I leave, I fold my hands lightly over the Bible. I place a small blessing on the night. May mercy meet you where you are. May love keep you in the dark hours. May rest come in small pieces until it holds the whole body. I will return with the final reading soon. For now, sleep when it comes. If wakefulness watches, tend it with a soft breath and a gentle image. The lamp will dim. The night will keep its hush. Rest in the slow gift of peace. Soothe. A tranquil night continued. I return to the lamp a little longer. The room keeps its hush. The Bible lies open on my knee. My voice is very soft now. I want to bring one more simple promise before sleep. I read aloud, quietly, the lines that tell us we are watched. The words sit like a guard beside the bed. They say that the one who keeps us does not slumber. They say that the feet will not be moved. I let the lines hang in the air like a small lantern. Listen with the heart. The promise is not a magic that removes every fear. It is a steady fact. Someone watches through the long hours. The watching is not anxious. It is calm and sure. It keeps a corner of the night safe. Picture a watchman who does not pace. He sits under a soft sky. He watches with gentle attention. His eyes are kind. His hands rest easily. That steady presence is the manner of care. These lines describe. I guide a simple visualization now. Close the eyes if that helps. Breathe in slow. Breathe out longer. See the room. like a small field. The bed is a patch of cleared earth. Around it, faint lights stand at even intervals. Each light is a small promise of keeping. Imagine one light growing a little warmer. It spreads a circle across the blankets. The circle does not erase the dark beyond. It simply makes the place around you easy to see. Sense the warmth on the shoulders. It is not heat that burns. It is warmth that comforts. Now imagine a pair of hands lifted in small, watchful posture. The hands are not far away. They are near enough that you could reach and touch them if you needed. They hover without clinging. They hold nothing that could be lost. They only hold a promise: I am watching. You may rest. Let a phrase come quietly to the mind. Say it inwardly as a single breath. You are watched. You are kept. Repeat it twice. No force. No sermon. Just a whispered assurance. The phrase is a small bell in the room. Each ring slows the heart a little. If the body resists, place a hand where the breath feels nearest the chest or the belly. The touch is a way to register that the promise is for flesh and bone, not only for thoughts. Feel the heartbeat under the palm. The pulse and the promise meet there. Think of Psalm 1, 2, 1, 3, 4 again. Its image is a watch that never sleeps. That meaning matters because the night can feel like a long road. To know that the keeper does not slumber changes how the road is walked. It will not remove the bends. It simply gives a steady lantern along the way. Try a small practice to make the watchfulness tangible. Lie where you rest best. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold 1 soft beat. Breathe out for 6. As the breath leaves, imagine placing 1 small worry into the circle of light at your feet. Watch the light take the worry like a moth drawn to a flame. The worry is not destroyed. It is held. Repeat with 1 more small thing, a fear of tomorrow, a sting from the day, a sorrow that lingers. Each thing is set into the watchful light. The act is not about forgetting. It is about giving over. Giving over changes muscle memory in the chest. If tears come, let them. The watch does not scold. If laughter rises, allow it too. Both are human. Both are welcome in the circle of keeping. The image holds both, without requiring that one be fixed before the other. Stay with the image for a few breaths. Let the light grow into a felt reality. If sleep arrives, let the light follow as a companion into the dream. If wakefulness returns later, return to the circle of small lights. Place another small thing there. The practice is simple and repeatable. Before I close this hour of the night, I say a short prayer with you, not a long speech, a single offered breath. Breathe in and think quietly, thank you for keeping. Breathe out and think I will rest. The prayer is small. It is enough. The lamp by the bedside keeps its steady glow. The psalm's watchfulness stays like a low keeper at the door. Rest can come not because the world changes, but because the heart learns that someone watches and will not sleep. Shabbat. Closing blessings. I fold the page of the Bible with care. The room remains still. My voice drops to its softest register. This final hour is a blessing. Simple, and sincere. I will speak short sentences now. Each one is a small benediction. Hear them as if placed on the forehead, on the hands, on the chest. May you be kept through the night. May a gentle watch stand near your door. May nothing uproot the small peace that arrives in breath. May the hands that have labored find rest. May the mouth that spoke hard words find gentleness in the morning. May tired eyes be soothed. May shoulders lower by a degree or two. May mercy meet whatever you carry. Mercy for the small failings. Mercy for the heavier wounds. Mercy that does not require proof. Mercy that waits in the dark with light in its palm. May grace come as a gift, not earned, not demanded, given to ease the chest, given so that the body may sleep without tallying worth. May forgiveness find a way into small rooms. May cords loosen like old ropes. May you learn the small habit of letting go a single knot at a time. Let the heart unburden. Slowly and kindly. May hope be renewed in small measures. May one tiny joy arise tomorrow. May praise return. Not forced, but like a warm cup offered after a cold day. Let hope be patient and steady. May stillness teach you how to listen. May the breath be a teacher of peace. May you learn the small movements that make the night kind. May unity with those you love be simple and true. May hands find each other easily. May grace soften the ledger in your head. May the woven cloth of community keep you warm. Now a short word for the body. Place a hand upon the chest. Feel the rise and fall. Rest here for one gentle breath. Inhale slowly. Hold lightly. Exhale completely. Let the body remember this slow measure when wakefulness presses. I speak a plain blessing for sleep. I do not promise depth every hour. I promise that rest can come in pieces. Sleep may arrive shallow at first and deepen. Let it be enough for the night. If you wake in the small hours, remember the watch. Return to the small circle of light in the mind. Name one small thing. Offer it into the watchful care. Breathe and lie back down when the body is ready. Keep a small token by the bedside if it helps a stone, a scrap of cloth, a small folded note. Touch it when the mind wanders. Let it be a gentle tether to the practices you have carried through these pages. I offer a final image now. Imagine a pair of hands open and wide. Between them rests a slow, quiet lamp. The lamp is small. It is steady. The hands do not own the lamp. They hold it out. Take it. If you wish, place it on your nightstand. Let the light be enough. I close with a blessing spoken as a hush. May you be held tonight. May mercy be your pillow. May love keep watch. May breath find rhythm. May rest come in its time. Go to sleep into that keeping. I will leave the lamp at a soft glow. The Bible rests nearby. I will return with another reading, if the night asks. For now, sleep when it comes. If wakefulness keeps watch, meet it gently. The keeper who does not slumber keeps near. Good night. I sit with the Bible in my lap one last time. The lamp is low. The room breathes with the house. My voice is soft. My aim is the same as it has been all along. I want to hold a quiet space for rest. I look at the page and then away. I let the eyes rest on the small circle of light. I feel grateful for the hours we have shared. I feel thankful for steady breathing and the simple work of slowing. Tonight I bring a short string of blessings. I speak them slowly. I let each one land like a small stone on still water. Let the rings widen a little. Let the body follow the sound. May grace find you where you rest. May it come without tallying and without demand. May it meet the tired parts and the fragile places. Receive it as a gift. Let the hands open before the mind insists on calculation. May mercy touch the small wounds. Not loud, not dramatic. A quiet touch that cools the edges. If sorrow wakes in the night, let mercy sit beside it like a neighbor with a warm cup. Do not be afraid to feel. Mercy has room for the ache. May forgiveness be gentle like warm water. Do not rush the work. Undo one knot at a time. Name one small hurt. Lay it in the water. Let time and patience do the rest. Where necessary, keep wise distance. Boundaries can be kindness too. May hope return in quiet measures. A small thing tomorrow that makes the chest lighter. A soft word. A tiny joy. Let hope be like a hidden ember. Feed it with a breath now and then. Praise will come back in small bits. May stillness teach you to listen. Slow down the breath. Notice the rise and fall. Let the pauses be gifts. In stillness, the mind can unlearn the loud habits. It learns a quieter grammar that holds truth without hurry. May unity grow where you sit with others. Do not expect sameness. Expect simple acts. A shared kettle, an extra chair, a question asked with curiosity. Let mercy be the common work that binds the small pieces of life together. May grace be more than a word. May it be a practice. Receive help when it arrives. Ask for help when the hands are full. Carry less when you can. When weakness speaks, let others answer with tenderness. May the keeping that watches the night be near. Someone it does not slumber. That care is steady and calm. Picture a gentle light just outside the window. It watches without alarm. It steadies rather than hovers. I offer one final practice to carry with you. Keep a small object by the bedside. It can be a smooth stone, a scrap of cloth, a handwritten note. When the mind wanders to lists, touch the object. Let the touch be a tiny reorienting. Let it say, "This night is for rest." Try this short ritual if wakefulness comes. Sit up slowly. Place both feet on the floor. Press them down and feel the ground. Name 3 small, true things in the room. They can be ordinary, a lamp, a blanket, the sound of distant rain. Breathe. Lie back down when the body invites it. If you find the heart heavy, write one small hope on a folded slip. Keep it near the pillow. Not a plan for the entire life. A modest wish for tomorrow. Place it where you can reach. Let the hope be quiet and kind. If someone you love needs mercy, share this calm with them. Read a short passage aloud in a gentle voice. Sit with them in silence. Bring a warm drink The simplest gestures teach the hardest lessons. I also ask one small favor from you. If these hours have helped, pass them along. Share this time with another who needs quiet. Read slowly to someone who cannot sleep. Leave a whispered note for a neighbor. A single act of sharing makes mercy move. You do not need to perform faith to be part of this circle. No proof is required. The simple acts of showing up at the bedside and listening are enough. Let the small routines change the body's script. The hands will learn a new memory. If you keep a candle or a lamp, let its light be low and warm. If music helps, choose a soft, steady sound. Keep the sounds subtle and rare. The night is not a place for rehearsal. It is a place for quiet tending. As I fold the pages down, I feel a weight ease in my own chest. The hours have been gentle. The words have been soft. The work of reading into the dark becomes a kind of prayer. It is simple and true. I speak the blessing again slowly. Now, with hands open toward the room, may the grace of God, His tender mercies, and unfailing love envelop you as you drift into dreams, awakening to a new dawn filled with peace. Let the sentence rest. Let it fall across the night like a quilt. Receive that blessing not as a performance, but as a resting place. Let the words be a cushion for the weary parts. Carry them into sleep if you can. Keep them near the waking hours too, for mercy often comes in small returns. If you wish to pass these moments on, do so gently. Read them to someone beside you. Record a soft reading and share it with one person you think needs calm. Invite a friend to sit with you for 5 quiet minutes. These acts extend peace by a tiny measure, and those tiny measures add up. Now a final breath together. Inhale slow. Hold the breath a soft beat. Exhale long and gentle. Let the exhale make a space between the day and the night. Let the body sink an inch deeper into the bed or chair. Place a hand on the chest. Feel the steady work there. Thank the body for the small labor of the day. Offer one brief inward word beheld. Let the word rest like a small pebble in the pocket. I close the Bible with care. The lamp is near. The house keeps its hush. I do not promise a night without waking. I do promise that mercy waits for every hour you give to rest. I promise that love keeps watch. This is the final hour of our set. The slow reading ends here. The practices will still be yours. Return to them whenever needed. They are small and patient. They do not demand sudden change. May you sleep when the body asks. May the small lamp of mercy be enough to carry you through the dark. May you awake with the peace of a night that has done its work. May the breath be steady in the morning. May tenderness greet the first light. Good night.